council meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Councilman Grigger.
Here.
Councilor Orchakowski.
Here.
Councilman Coles. Here. Councilwoman Thomas.
Here.
Mayor Sherrod.
Here. Please rise for the pledge of the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Just some housekeeping, since this is the first time we're in here. The elevator works, so there is a public restroom upstairs that's handicap accessible. The light is on. If you're like looking at the balcony, it's over there. And then there's also public restrooms downstairs in the lower level in the basement. So just so everyone knows. I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes from the September 14th, 2021 meeting. Is there a second?
I'll make a second.
Any comments, corrections, questions?
Mayor, I have one question. It would be item number 4.
On the front?
Yes. The McClure and Wolf audit presentation. Just for general information, Clayton Gregg is the one that did our audit. I spoke to him and called them last week and asked them what happened. And his answer to me was, they were never invited.
Yeah, there was a miscommunication with them. John already spoke to them.
Are we going to get them in here anytime soon?
Yes, I believe that the plan now is they're finishing the 2020 audit and they're just going to present both of them at the same time.
When?
I assume within the month. They were waiting on some figures from
Yeah, they're waiting for the
the
actual
actuaries
figures to come in, and
for 2020.
if they have it, it should be in a couple of weeks, we should have the information. As soon as we get it, we'll call a special meeting.
Did they tell you what the miscommunication was? They got the wrong date?
Oh, no, with it happened, I had talked to them, and they said, we'll be there on the 14th for the meeting. And when I called Clayton back, he said to me, well, you didn't call to confirm it. So he told me the date, and he was ready to reconfirm. So that's how it happened.
Yeah, the only item that they were waiting on was your OPEB valuation report. They needed that to incorporate into the audit. They received that today, I believe. And so with that information, they should be able to complete the audit and present both of those yearly audits in fairly short order.
Anything else on the minutes? Call the roll.
Councilman Orchakowski?
Yes.
Councilman Coles? Yes. Councilwoman Thomas?
Yes.
Councilor Grigger?
Aye.
Mayor Sherrod.
Yes. Mr. Davis of the Monessen Volunteer Fire Department will not be here tonight. He will make a presentation next month. So we're going to move down to item 6. There are some residents wishing to address council regarding South 14th Street. So if you'd like to take the podium, anyone who'd like to discuss anything.
Hi, hello. My name is Garcia Crosby. I am the mother of the house in the corner on the left-hand side of South 14th Reservoir. I have 4 children, 3 boys, and I'm just here to address. I got wind of the last meeting that went on that I didn't know when it was happening, so I didn't come. But I got with things that were said at the meeting, and my issue is with I'll say called Jim, and had a talk with him as well, because there was an issue where my son's information, personal information, he was a juvenile, 13 years of age, that was brought up, which his file is, a juvenile's case is kept secret. You can't get that. It's not public information because he's a juvenile. And I can assume she said, okay, it's a kid in South 14. She gave my exact address. And what I told Jim is I have an issue with that I feel like that needs to be addressed, because if we're teaching these kids, don't get me wrong, there's been a lot of issues on South 14 with these children as well. I know that. But if we're going to teach them something, discipline, we're going to teach them if you do something wrong, there's a consequence. And I feel that the person that has spoken and what she said, and my address and my child's personal information, I feel like something needs to be addressed about that as well. And also, I think there's a consequence that needs to be taken for her. And some of the things that were said was outrageous. Like, I think the truth was stretched a little bit. And they do crazy things. They do crazy things out there. There's half the time the things that's going on are children that don't even live on South 14. And I feel the summer, since school has been started, it's been a lot calm. Things have calmed down a lot. But in the summer, there was really nothing for them to do. And I'm here to address, and I'm here to help the problem. I'm not here to go against, I'm here to help. And that's about it.
And like
That's my main issue.
And like I mentioned to you before, like if you want to get together with the kids and just kind of talk to them like
Absolutely.
people and see like what
Absolutely.
what they're going through, what they want.
Absolutely.
Try to get them engaged.
And they're all for it. They were all excited about the information I brought up to the younger ones that live on South 14 as well. And the older ones are all for it. So whenever we can,
And
work together.
I think that's part of the issue. Like you have adults yelling at them and there's nothing for them to do, and like obviously the safety issues need to be addressed, but like
Absolutely.
they're still people, so
Absolutely,
you have
absolutely.
to talk to them. And if you have a kid that the adults are treating them like they're just nothing, and then of course they're gonna throw garbage, just not listen to do things, because they're like, why should I care?
Absolutely.
So-
It's just not the children itself on South 14. Jim also said that he looks on the camera, he watches, my house is right there in the corner. There's people that just come from the corner store, walk past, drink a drink, toss it right in my yard. So it's like, I work, I'm a single mother of 4, I work constantly, hospitals, nursing homes, I work in the medical field, and coming home, having to clean up garbage. I know some of it may be kids that my kids had at the house or whatever, but it's also other people in the neighborhood just throwing trash or whatever. So it is frustrating for me as well. After I did 16, 12 hours and have to come home and clean up the yard after behind somebody else, And like I said, a lot of this stuff was stretched. I have a lot of proof from the girl that they said that were beaten, taken out of her car. I have a video of her. She wanted to come, but she wasn't able to. And she gave me her name and all. That did not happen. I said, I don't know where that came from. It made us look crazy, like bad, like wow, like out of control animals. And those are my children, and I'm here to defend their name and defend them. That some of this is just outrageous. And I understand that there's things that needs addressed and needs to have consequence upon, and as well as her, because I'm not going to stop until there's a consequence for what she did, because what she did was wrong. She broke the law. You can't do that. Thank you.
Okay. I'd like to open the floor to public comments on agenda items only.
Can I just speak to Chair a minute? Sarah, I'm glad you came, and I think there's some things on both sides that need to be addressed, on both sides, definitely, because, and sometimes things are maybe said that may be a little bit stretched, we don't know, because all of us aren't there, but I know things need to be addressed on both sides, and what may help too, I love kids myself, so one of my things is always pushing to make things, the shorter things for them to do. That's why we're pushing one of the CBGs is to get 2 courts on 9th Street, not just one, to get both restored, and possibly later on a multi-purpose court for the 3rd one, where there could be volleyball, tennis, or what have you. So there are people interested in doing that. But what it's going to take, I think, is both sides to come together and say, hey, we definitely got a problem here, and we don't want to live in this type of situation all our lives. So let's try to come together and make it right. Because no one wants to live where you're at ends with both your neighbors on every end. Who can live like that? So hopefully we can come together and solve this issue, okay? Because no one, I'm sure everyone wants to live peaceably with everybody has a right to live peaceably wherever they live. And like you said, sure, maybe some of your kids and their friends have the trash, but I also agree with you. There are other people walking along the street, because I get it on my street, constantly sweeping my street every day. So it may be some on your kid's part, but it's probably a lot of walking through because there's a store. Because we had Hawk's store. And Hawk knows he was out there every day cleaning, but yet every day we had trash up and down our street. So I just think we all just need to come together and try to figure this thing out so we can come together as a whole.
I agree with that, and also the truth is that there is certain somebody that will never go along with this because of their personal reasons, and it's a prejudice. And yeah, honestly. So it's just like, we're not gonna please that person. And yeah, I tried to talk, and as a adult, you come to me, I discipline mine, I handle, whatever the issue is, I'm out there, I'm screaming and yelling, there's cameras, you see me screaming and trying to correct. But it's always gonna be an issue, and I feel like I'm always gonna be targeted and harassed for anything. Because and after the last meeting, when I tried to talk, I got the comment made to me, you're gonna get out of here one way or the other. Now I'm gonna have the code enforcer after me. Little stuff, because I'm owning the home and I'm fixing it up. So we'll work together, absolutely. We'll go in and do it.
It's gonna take,
Yeah.
we come together as a group.
Yes,
You know,
she
and
lives on
maybe-
South 14th as well.
We
She's
come
in the other
together as
house.
a group and try to figure this thing out. 'Cause
Absolutely.
This got not.
It has.
My name is Tanisha Thompson. I live on South 14th Street as well. We are neighbors, me and Sierra. I'm a single mom with 6 kids. And my address was also brought up at the last meeting. And they made it seem like my kids were animals. And I just don't understand, because if there's so much problems and stuff going on, like my landlord called me, he said, well, there's no police reports, there's no nothing. They're going off of hearsay, and it's the neighbors across the street. They're prejudiced. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's always something with kids. Like, you can't, but they'll come knock on my door and say, well, there's trash in the street. I know, we're going to clean it up. But then you'll come down here and you'll make it seem like my house we live like animals, and I'm not a mother to my children. Just things that I'm not okay with. Because my kids are not animals. They are the humans, like all of us. You know what I mean? And I feel like the way they're being treated, I'm being treated, my neighbor's being treated, it's not fair. It's not fair. I have 6 kids, from 20 down to 6, 3 boys, 3 girls. I have kids at my house all the time. Yes, I do. They're allowed to have friends. And it's a problem when my kids have friends over because there's too many people there. Well, like I said, I have kids, 20, 17, 15 are my boys, and I have 3 girls, 13, 8, and 6. All age limits. I feed all the kids. They can come play. If they need somewhere to stay, they can stay, as long as they're respectful. And they come there because they are respectful, like my children are. And for my kids to be talked about at the last meeting was just, I'm not okay with it. And I came to address it today because I didn't appreciate it. About my address being mentioned, about my kids and their friends being mentioned, it is wrong. And I had to come today because I had something to say, and hopefully things will change. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll open the floor now to public comments on agenda items.
I have 2 issues here. One is number H on the 2nd page. I want to know the Blight plan proposal of Westmoreland County. What is it, and how is the 2019 Blight inventory project connected? And what is the new Monessen City comprehensive plan? Because I don't know what these things are.
So the comprehensive plan was adopted at a council meeting in January, and it's on the city's website. The Blight plan, so it's a proposal for the county to create a Blight plan, which is part of the comprehensive plan. So it's like a stem off of the comprehensive plan.
Okay, so none of this is set in stone yet?
No, not yet. They have to create.
Is there a price attached to it?
I think it's like 6,900.
That's all?
Yeah. I have a pen here. Is there a copy of it? There should be a copy. There was an attachment on that. Yeah, it would be it's 6,900. There was an attachment.
When can we have this in detail?
They would start in the next few months to develop it. They have to
Okay,
create.
well, when is the citizens going to get some sort of
Well, so it would be up to the county to have like public hearings, like a public process like we did for the comprehensive.
I mean, city council won't, step up and provide us with some sort of a report in detail?
Well, there's nothing to report yet.
Well, money,
Yeah, it's 6,900.
we'd like to see that in writing.
I have it in writing. I don't know why it's not here, but I have it in writing.
So Mayor, what are you saying? I guess I'm confused. It says the city's new comprehensive plan.
Correct.
There is no new comprehensive plan. It's the same comprehensive plan that we had before us even started. with
No,
that.
it was a new comprehensive plan that we adopted in January of this year. That, Mac did. That was a new.
Mac and
comprehensive-
engineering.
Yeah, that was a new comprehensive plan
That's
that we
the
adopted.
new, Mac and Engineering, we went through all that process for the year before. It was just finally came to us and was approved in January of this year.
Oh,
So, we're both right. It's the older plan, but it's new because.
okay.
Yeah.
Because we were doing the same thing. with
Ernie's
Mac.
the one that you came to all the meetings with.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I don't
It
know,
was
because I saw the word
finalized.
new.
Right, that made
You
me
guys
think,
came up
I
with something
understand, but
else.
it's the one that you came to all the meetings with.
Yeah. It just took that long to.
Okay. My second issue is this. Is it the mayor's call or the majority of council's call if you're gonna signal the police to take somebody to stop speaking? Because last time, there were like a bunch of people here, Pino, George, and all that, standing out threatening, hollering at Mr. Coles and other people. No cop moved. And then when I came up, I spoke on here not 1 minute, 38 seconds. I even said, hey, I didn't speak my 3 minutes. And I was told that, please signal them to come and have me stop talking. So whose call is it? Is it the mayor or is it the council?
It's the mayor's as president of council.
Okay, well.
And there were multiple people that should have been removed from that.
Yeah, but the thing is, I wasn't threatening or challenging anybody physically. Other people were, okay? I just want to talk my piece, and I was cut off. Okay, and I just don't appreciate, I don't know, maybe you belong to the Communist Party, Okowski, because that's what they do in communism. If they don't want to hear somebody to present their view, they oust them out. So I'm glad you cleared that up. So it's a mayor's call.
I'm glad to see Officer Alan Fritz made it, and I have a letter of commendation to read. This is for going above and beyond the call of duty, for providing immediate assistance to a person in need of medical attention while off duty. For commendable actions and for going above and beyond the line of duty while off duty, Officer Fritz performed the Heimlich maneuver to an individual who was choking while at dinner at a local restaurant. He is to be commended for his demonstration of the selfless act. So thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
We also have, for anyone's review, the Youth and Young Citizens Board minutes for September 16th, 2021. And I just want to mention, because I feel that it's really important, there is, and a lot of people probably aren't aware of this, there is a youth homelessness issue in this city. And as we are having more buildings renovated and more people acquiring houses, there are squatters. And a lot of them are as young as the age of 12. And it is really concerning. A lot of people don't know. I feel like this isn't common knowledge. And there are different organizations and agencies looking into ways that we can address this. But I just want everyone here to be aware that it's a serious problem, especially as winter is coming. And I will say the Youth and Young Citizens Board, they really want to have some sort of home or something, but there's a lot of, you know, legal requirements to that, so that complicates matters. But in the immediate, they are doing a blanket and scarf and hat, like warm weather or warm clothing drive for kids, and we'll figure out how to distribute them in a safe and discreet way, because a lot of these kids, you probably wouldn't even know that they're homeless. They're still going to school. Maybe they're couch surfing, maybe they're squatting in a house, but they don't want people to know that they're dealing with this. Whether they feel ashamed or have family issues or whatever the case may be. So there's several things that you can do. We're going to put a box here in City Hall if you want to bring blankets, hat, scarves, whatever the case may be. I think they're going to have one in the library and the Civic Center as well. And if anyone knits, crochets, whatever, you can make hats and scarves. I have tons of yarn at home. I'm happy to donate to anyone who wants to do that. Just to at least help in the immediate while we figure out what we can do. There's probably at least 20 to 30 homeless kids that we know of. So.
Did you call CYS?
We have not at this time.
Well, that's their
I
job,
don't know. I don't know what the youth board has planned, and if Julian, if you're
It is their job for CYS, but the problem is, that is the reason these kids aren't coming forward for help, because the places that they're staying with relatives and they're staying with friends who they feel safe with, and the first thing CYS is going to do is drag them away from who they feel safe with. I've found 5 of these kids myself and just found another one yesterday, and they are not saying who they are, they're not saying their names or anything, and that's why they won't call, that's why CYS, they don't want CYS involved, because where they're staying now is safer than where they were, and it might be safer than where they might go. If they've been staying with a friend or a relative for 2 weeks or so, they're not going to want to leave that person to go with a complete stranger.
And then to follow up, my name is Trina Hall. I have a nonprofit in the city. Some of the issue is the city doesn't actually have the right or the responsibility. It's actually the neighbors and the citizens in the area are actually supposed to be reporting. But a follow-up to what the young man said is within Allegheny, there are designations and people that make themselves safe space. There's community entities where the children can go, but in Westmoreland, all of the designated shelters move our kids from their comfort zone to no closer than Latrobe or Ligonier or Greensburg. And so now they're in an environment and in a section of the county where they know no one and they have no support system. So the trade-off, as one of the people that's trying to help, the trade-off is trying to find somewhere here that they can feel safe and that there's a team of an emergency response network that can get them what they need, and prayerfully our nonprofit is working to see how we can work with the youth board to do that, because if there's not a designated space, the kids get pulled and then they get taken all the way to Greensburg.
One second,
But
please.
who's
And as for that,
responsible?
The responsibility.
If somebody gets hurt, who is going to be responsible?
right, but they can get hurt now. They're
Yeah,
staying in
yeah, but
abandoned
If you
houses.
take it in your house and then they get hurt,
As Matt
Then
said,
what?
they're
Who's
still trying to go to
That's
school,
up-
so.
That's up to each person, that if they want to let kids into their house, but it's up to each
Yeah.
so
property
they're
owner.
risk.
Yeah.
And as he said, these kids are still trying to go to school. They're walking to school, they're going in late, and they're going to school just because they can get a free meal. As he also said, we're doing a warm clothes blankets drive, so, and used blanket, new blanket, hats, scarf, anything. There will be boxes, places. And come to the youth board meetings. I've told several people when they have been, not a lot of people show up, but
When's the next one?
I will let someone know. I see you at the library all the time, but I'll let you know. But anyone feel free to come to the meetings. It's a concern, and but feel free to donate something. Feel free to come to the meetings. But while we're home in the winter with heat, some of these kids are in these abandoned houses that are getting fixed and sleeping in City Park and in the cold, and they want the help or they would leave. But like he said, people are embarrassed. I would have never went to anyone and said, I'm homeless, can you help me? I just wouldn't have done it, especially not with the type of city we live in. So it's an issue, and it's gonna take more than 7 people to fix the issue. So if anyone is willing to come to the meetings and spread the word about the donations, because they're definitely needed.
Nancy, please.
We really need to
Okay,
do the
yeah.
public comment.
Great.
Mayor, I got a question on that. Have they contacted the Salvation Army? That's exactly what they do.
I'm not sure.
That's exactly what Captain Sue
A lot of
does.
these resources have got to be tapped out, especially with the pandemic. That's something we also need to consider.
Yeah, and also, like, I know, like, there are kids too that, like, they might feel more comfortable, like, if they know someone personally than going to, like, a church or an organization.
But
Like,
they could also, but they would have clothing for them. They would have a hot meal. They would have anything they need. That's what she does.
But I think the other thing is they would be seen there, and they don't want people to know who they are. That's one of the that's one of the issues. So I don't know how.
Because when they go to school, Matt, the issue is they go to school and they're ridiculed. They are literally targeted. And then it's rough enough that they don't have Nikes and they don't have the newest jeans and they don't have the newest clothes. But then they're literally bullied for not keeping up with the Joneses. And then on top of that bullying, you want them to tell people that they're homeless. They're gonna be more of a target.
I'm not asking for them to say anything. I'm just saying that the Salvation Army is an avenue
But
that's
in
available to the city.
respect, Ms. Dorsey, Chelsea, if I see you, if I'm a teenager and I see you, a teenager at the Salvation Army, the first thing I'm gonna think about after the after-school hours is, what are you doing there? That's
There's a lot of kids that donate their time there that actually work for a cause, too. I'm just throwing that out there.
No,
I'm not saying it's
I
wrong.
totally agree with you, because we do this in the city, and it works, but the difference in the city is the kids don't know who lives there, and the kids don't know who leaves after program and who lives in this building after the program's over, because we keep their privacy and their housing status a secret. So kids are all in the same zone, and then at the end of the day, certain ones leave, and certain ones that have to stay there and live there, they look like they're working, they look like they're doing their job, and then when other people leave, they go upstairs to the privacy room, and they have their own room, and they have their own space, and it doesn't look like a demarcation. The issue here, in talking with some of the young people, is that they know, like, okay, the Civic Center closes at this time, this closes at this time, and there's no continuity where they could stay there and it doesn't designate that they're homeless, if that makes sense.
It makes total sense. All I'm saying is I'd rather have a child go to the Salvation Army whose doors are always open when it's 5 below 0 and doesn't have anything on it.
No, I agree. So that is something that maybe we need to
So
make.
here's a way that you can probably get around it. If you know the kid, I know what sizes they wear. They can deliver their clothes to you guys,
Yeah.
and no one will know who they're for. They don't need to go to the Salvation Army. Just get dates, get sizes, get colors, what they like. Only get what they like, and they can do. And you guys, anybody can pick them up. I can pick them up and get them to you, so no one knows who went to get them. I can bring them to you, and no one knows who they go to.
And
There's ways around it.
if it goes down to like -10 or anything like that, like the Civic Center can be a warming center. We can declare it a warming center if we need to. So.
Same way it works with Angel Tree. No one
Right,
knows who the
nobody-
kids are. That's right.
exactly, and that's
It's
how-
anonymous. You turn it into a certain location. You guys get them in. Give it to them. No one knows who they went to. Very easy to do.
So I felt that it was important to put this out there because a lot of people don't know that this is an issue. And I knew that it was an issue, but I didn't know to what degree it was an issue. And so we really need to keep working at it and do something. So we're gonna move on. We also have the rec board minutes from August 23rd, 2021. And a reminder, the Halloween parade is scheduled for Thursday, October 21st at 7 p.m. House of Letter helping coordinate it, so I'll pass it along. But everyone's welcome to have a vehicle or whatever the case may be. And also a reminder, the trick or treat will be Saturday, October 30th from 1 to 3, and trunk or treat will be Saturday, October 30th from 4 to 6 at the walking track. If it rains, it'll be at the upper parking lot at City Park. And then there is no old business, and the city treasurer, Jerry Saxon, is not here. Rosalie, will you be reading Jerry's report? Or would you like me to? Yes. Okay.
Mayor, members of City Council, the garbage fees and city real estate taxes collected for the month of September. Garbage revenue fees, September collection, $4,191. Year-to-date, $318,128.44 versus a budget of $370,000. Delinquent garbage for the month of September collected was $3,890.90. Fort Knox collected $3,685.90. Year-to-date, $100,169.24 was collected. Fort Knox collected $33,916.56. Interest and penalties was $699.67 versus a budget of $120,000. The garbage from the Housing Authority quarterly, the September year-to-date was $45,776.25. The budget is $80,000. Total collections for garbage year-to-date is $570,000. Garbage collections for 2022, in September, they collected $175. Year-to-date, $1,405.20, and the budget is $60,000. Real estate taxes, revenues collected in the month of September, $15,227.65. Year-to-date, $2,040,275.54. The budgeted amount for the general fund is $1,457,000. The debt service is $500,000. Parks is $250,000, and the library is $50,000. The budgeted amount for taxes is $2,257,000. Delinquent city taxes. The prior year collected by the city year-to-date was $3,612.14 versus a budget of $9,100. City taxes collected by Westmoreland County Tax Claim Bureau, which we receive only quarterly, was $132,305.70 versus a budget amount of $210,000. Total year-to-date taxes collected $2,176,193.38. The city real estate tax distribution to the general fund is $1,404,835.51. The debt service was $482,098.67. The parks amount was $241,049.33. Library, $48,209.87 for a total of $2,176,193.38. The value of a mill is $58,430.63. Real estate transfer tax from the county. The month of September, we received $7,286.45. Year-to-date, $61,148.39. The budget was $60,000. so we did go over budget there. Earned income tax, for the month of September, we collected $71,898.90. $443,857.02. The budgeted amount is $650,000. Mercantile tax, September, $373.59. Year-to-date, $22,910.19. The budgeted amount is $28,000. Local service tax, for the month of September, $2,262.09. Year-to-date, $47,573.46 versus the budget of $77,000. Tax certifications during the month of September, $1,910. Year-to-date, $17,680. The budgeted amount is $22,000. Municipal lien letters for the month of September is $1,050. Year-to-date is $12,450. The budget for 2021 is $16,500. The line usage, unsold payments, year-to-date, $10,152. Line usage fee for the month of September, $67,230.41. Year-to-date, $742,283.84, for a total of $618,853.20. And that's the treasurer's report for the month of September.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the treasurer's report as read. Is there a second? And there's a math error on the line usage account. It says $618,853.20, but that is not the right amount. It should be $752,435.84. So I'd like to approve the treasurer's report, or I'd like to approve the treasurer's report with that correction. So is there any other comment on that? Call the roll.
Councilman Coles? Aye. Councilwoman Thomas?
Yes.
Councilman Gregor?
Aye.
Councilor Orchowski?
Yes.
Mayor Sherrod?
Controller's report.
General Fund Community Bank Checking Account. The bank reconciliation as of September 30th, 2021. The beginning bank balance as of August 31st, 2021 was $35,483.96. The deposits made, $526,048.34. Expenses, $343,640.04. The ending balance as of September 30th is $217,892.20. The outstanding checks, $197,739.83. Outstanding deposits, $23,955.42. Reconciled balance to the bank statement, $44,107.81.
Thank you. Moving on to new business. I'd like to make a motion to approve Resolution 27 of 2021, a resolution of the City of Monessen, Westmoreland County, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, approving and authorizing the submission of the fiscal year 2021 CDBG application. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any questions? Call the roll.
Councilwoman Thomas?
Yes.
Councilor Gregor?
Aye.
Councilor Orchowski?
Yes.
Councilman Coles? Yes. Mayor Sherrod?
Yes. I'd like to make a motion to approve Resolution 28 of 2021, a resolution of the City of Monessen, Westmoreland County, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, approving the fair housing resolution for the City of Monessen. Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions? Call the roll.
Councilman Gregor?
Aye.
Councilman Wojciechowski?
Yes.
Councilman Kroll?
Aye.
Councilwoman Thomas?
Yes.
Mayor Sherrod?
Yes. I'd like to make a motion to approve Resolution 29 of 2021, a resolution of the City of Monessen, Westmoreland County, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, a statement of goals in compliance with the National Program for Minority and Women Business Enterprises, Executive Order 11625. Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions? Call the roll.
Councilman Wojciechowski?
Yes.
Councilman Gold?
Yes.
Councilwoman Thomas?
Yes.
Councilman Gregor?
Aye.
Mayor Sherrod?
Yes. I'd like to make a motion to approve Resolution 30 of 2021, a resolution of the City of Monessen authorizing and approving the transfer of funds received by the City of Monessen under the American Rescue Plan, state and local fiscal recovery funds, to a separate account, amending the 2021 budget of the City of Monessen to add and reflect such revenue, authorizing the expenditure of SLRF for emergency and first responder communication equipment, revenue replacement, legal and other consultation expenses, and administrative expenses, authorizing the transfer and use of interest earned on SLFRF to the general fund, authorizing the preparation and filing of necessary reports, acknowledging the use of SLFRF, and authorizing related action. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Is there anything you would like to clarify on this? I know we talked about this last month.
Just for your, this is in connection with your ERP stimulus funding. This is one of the, spending some of the funds from that first tranche that the city received. This is the resolution that you'll want to make sure you pass for record-keeping purposes, identifying the expenditure of those funds and the specific uses of those funds. This also incorporates a lot of safeguards and some of the accounting requirements and practices that you're required to include for using those funds. In addition, they actually have just come out with additional clarification. The report that normally would have been required at the end of this month is no longer required. They changed that requirement for non-entitlement units like the City of Monessen. So there's not a report that has to be filed at the end of this month. It's, I believe, in August of next year when that report has to be filed. But this will be an integral part of your accounting and record keeping to ensure that you're complying with the record keeping requirements of those stimulus funds.
And these items, like the first responder communication equipment, all that, that's under the Treasury. Those recommendations by the Treasury Department, or guidance, or whatever they're calling it, right?
So there was an interim rule that was issued by the Department of the Treasury that outlined specific approved uses. The city's first disbursement was about $378,000. After these disbursements, which are for the fire department purchase, there's a portion that will be revenue replacement, and then a portion that is consulting and administrative funds. That'll leave $146,922 of the city's first tranche of those ARC funds to still use, for the remainder of this year or the next year as well. So, but yes, that's the purpose of this resolution specifically.
Any questions?
Yeah, question there. According to this, according to our packet, we are down to $173,450.69. That's roughly $200,000 has already been spent. I do not remember us voting on allocations on line items, things that total $200,000. Unless I missed it, we spoke about that the $378K that Mr. Witt just talked about was when we go into a separate account, and when it went into the separate account, which he recommended for bookkeeping, that we would have public discussions, we would have council discussions on what we were going to spend it on. It looks like $200K has already been taken out of there, and I want to know where it's at. Please.
John, can you explain?
You said it was spent?
Well, I'm just asking, has it been spent? It's showing here on the last page on finance that there's $173,450.69 left.
If you look at item number 7, it talks about $141,000 of the funds to be turned over to the general fund to support payrolls. Therefore, we switched $141,000 over to the general fund. You'll see an increase in there of the $141,000.
I'm sorry, what number, John, did you say?
Pardon me?
You just, when you started off, you said a number and I didn't catch it.
$141,031.74.
Number 7, he said number 7.
That number goes over to the general fund, so you'll see an increase in the general fund this month over last month. So no money's been spent, we just moved the money to the fund where we will be using it,
All right, and we're gonna use it on what?
on payroll.
According to this, according
That's
to
what it
this,
says, according to payroll.
according to the Federal Register for Rules and Regulations of this act, according to Congress, it states, these provisions give force to Congress's clear intent for fiscal recovery funds to be spent within the 4 eligible uses identified in the statute. 1, in response to a public health emergency and its negative economic impacts. 2, to provide premium pay for essential workers. 3, to provide government services to the extent of eligible government's revenue losses. And 4, to make necessary water, sewer, and broadband infrastructure, and not otherwise.
And revenue replacement.
It doesn't say that.
So to clarify,
It's very
That-
very clear here.
that third category that you're talking about is that revenue replacement category. So the section that talks about the loss of funds, that's the $141,031.71.
That's due to, though, if you lost funds due to COVID.
Well, that's not if you lost in just code. So the assumption is that if your revenue declined between 2019 and 2020, the assumption is that it's due to COVID. So you just have to show revenue decline based on just the input data that you have to plug into that calculation. And so I actually did those calculations to figure out, taking the information they provided for 2019 revenue and 2020 revenue, that was the amount of the decline. Plus, there's a 4.1% increase that they assume between 2019 and 2020 that they also give you the benefit of as well.
I've
So
seen that.
that's all reflected in that calculation itself. And there's actually an exhibit B, that would go with this resolution that actually has those calculations all included.
So where does it say that, just for clarification, that way there's no questions asked about it, where does it say that you can spend legal and other consultation expenses, administrative expenses of that nature?
So that's actually in the interim rule. So they issued an interim rule, which is 151 or 157 pages long. And in the interim rule, it goes into more detail about the types of uses that you can use. Those revenue replacement funds in that third category that you mentioned can basically be used for any sort of provision of governmental services, including certain payroll expenses. There's a list of items it can't be used for, which are incorporated into the resolution as well. Let me find it in there. You cannot use the revenue replacement funds. It's in item 11 in the resolution. For tax offsetting, pension deposits, contributions to reserve funds, debt service, for the satisfaction of any obligation arising under or pursuant to a settlement agreement, judgment, consent decree, or judicially confirmed debt restructuring in a judicial, administrative, or regulatory proceeding. Those are the only restrictions on including those revenue replacement funds, but we can't use those revenue replacement funds. But it can be used for anything else, and a lot of municipalities are using it to fill holes in budgets and whatnot, and to cover those expenses from revenue losses from the prior year.
That's fine, I just want it clear that if for some reason something comes back, we're gonna be forced to have to pay it.
Well, just for clarifications, do you understand it now?
Yes.
And
I just want to clarify, John, that's
the general
all it
fund
was.
has dipped so low because John was able to pay off the debt from 2019.
I don't think he had all the
So,
information.
and we
He wasn't aware.
weren't required to have a public meeting for any input from the,
You're not required. There was a general recommendation at the federal level in order to promote transparency and public involvement, to involve the public in the conversation about funds. But there was no requirement specifically incorporated into that. So there's no requirement for a specific public hearing or anything. Certainly of the $146,922 that you have left in the first amount, that may be an item that you want to open that up for some public discussion. The funds you're using here, you're using those to fill some budget holes that are largely necessary just to make sure that you're funding the general fund, but $146,000 that's remaining is going to be much more limited on what we can use that for, because it can't be revenue replacement fund at that point, unless it's revenue replacement from 2020 to 2021. That would be an analysis that's done after the end of this year.
So we should have a line item, whatever comes out of the general fund when this goes in, there should be line items specifically designated saying this came out for this fund.
So when the money goes in, that's another thing that this resolution does, is it amends your budget to include these funds as additional revenue in your budget. And then once it's in there as additional revenue, all you have to do when the report comes out next year is identify, generally, narrative. It only requires a narrative for what's required in that report as to what you spent those funds on. So it could be just generally police services, for example, is the example in the regulations itself. Or if there was, trying to think of something, road construction actually is permissible to use for those revenue replacement funds. So those can be used for that purpose, and you just generally have to provide a narrative summary of what those funds were used for and affirm that they weren't used for any of those restricted categories that I mentioned there in section 11. Now keep in mind, and that's why I always recommend caution on using these funds, the final regulations have not been released by the Department of the Treasury yet. So they're anticipated to be released by the end of this month. And so generally I urge caution before spending funds, because it's possible that things could change to become more or less restrictive. But under the current interim rule that's been issued, along with the supplemental guidance from the Department of Treasury, this comports with those regulations that were provided for.
Okay, so I understand you're saying it wasn't a requirement to go before the public, but it wasn't a requirement to go before all the council? Because you're making the statements that the city council hereby, city council, what, 2 city councilmen? So can you?
Absolutely, anything the council is being asked to vote on should go before all council. Council should be involved with that.
Because the way it's written is that the whole city council talked about this and decided.
Well, it's up for a vote right now. And I mean, you don't think that we should pay the debt off?
I'm not talking about that, Matt, but I'm talking about including every council member in decision making. Am I right or am I wrong?
This is the first time you and Tony have been in this
council.
building.
Will you please?
Council should always, every council member should be involved.
You're more than welcome
We
to
go
come
through
down
this
here
every meeting.
and every meeting I tell you, you're more than welcome to come down here and
Especially since we have work
participate.
session, you would think that we would have got all this information in time for us to at least review it. Once again, we never got any documents before this meeting. Once again.
You got the agenda, like everyone got the
The agenda, but no documents. No documents whatsoever. Not one.
You're more than welcome to come down and participate.
We
Neither
weren't
you
till
or
5.
Tony.
What are you talking
John's
about?
here till 8, 9 o'clock sometimes.
We should have got these Tim, am I right or wrong? Please.
I always recommend that if there are other documents that council's being asked to take a decision and vote on, that they should receive those as far in advance as possible.
We got
best
nothing,
practice.
nothing.
So Tim, we spent how much so far in your estimation?
So, I can tell you exactly how much it would be. It would be... This is, we're not rounding for the cents, it's just leaving the cents off, but $231,823.
So council is being asked to vote to move forward with this and spend 200, how much thousand?
231,000.
231,000, then I would expect that we all have a whole line sheet that explains the totals to that amount and says, this is what we're doing with it.
We just said what we were doing with it. It's in the resolution.
It doesn't
We
reflect-
have to cover payroll because we had to pay off the debt from 2019. That's why there's no public discussion, because there's debt to pay off. And
We've
as
been
John
round and
said,
round
nothing
about
was-
that.
it
We've been
was
round
not
and round about that
spent.
many
It was
times.
not spent. It was moved to the general fund. It was not spent. And that's reflected on the last page of the agenda, as John stated.
We still should have a listing of everything that's going to
We're
happen.
going to vote on the resolution so that we can move forward, because we had to pay off the debt that was left in 2019.
You've been saying that for 9 months.
Yeah, because you left the debt,
And we
and
also
we
left,
had to pay it off.
and we also left you a 3 mil increase of $300,000, plus the $100,000 from the farm and foul
Three mills.
sale.
And you left us
$150,000.
$600,000
Excuse me,
debt.
Six mil. Sorry.
3 mils. It was 3 mils.
It was $376,000, what you got.
You raised it 6 mils? I thought you only raised it 3 mils.
No,
Are you sure?
you're sure.
Well,
And-
that still didn't cover $656,000 worth of debt that you left behind.
Okay, wait a minute,
It
$350,000.
didn't cover it because you still had the expenses.
Okay,
If we hadn't gone out and changed the insurance policies, it would cost us another $300,000 in debt that we managed to fix.
but again, what does that
No.
got to do with this?
What has exactly what to do with this? You're saying about the debt. That's what the problem has been. You, in the last 6 years before I took office, the city was running to the ground. I don't care how you can't look at it any other way. You went, when Mavrakis came into office, there was money left, $300-some thousand in the bank. When we came into office, when I came into office, there was $657,000 worth of debt that was left behind of unpaid bills. There was $170,000 in the bank. If we hadn't gotten $120,000 from the sale of the building down here, we wouldn't have made payroll. That was done under your administration. There was no money, and we still managed to make things work without a TAN note.
You got $300,000 from a tax increase, then you got $100,000.
We didn't get that until
Got it.
until June.
You still got $100,000.
There was no money in
And
the
you
bank.
still left debt and lied to everyone about being in the black, and we finally had to pay off that
I
debt.
still remember the 26th of December. We had righted the ship. Yeah, you righted it all right. You ran it up on a damn reef.
That's why you got $179K left.
Yeah.
Because you didn't pay the bills.
You didn't pay the bill.
Anyone can have money in
Do
the bank,
that.
they don't pay their bills.
Tell the truth.
You didn't pay the bills.
Tell the truth.
$657,000.
And you had $500,000 we gave you.
All we've done
You
is
gave us
nitpicking
nothing.
something of what
The
somebody
people of
else is
Monessen
doing.
paid that. You
And
didn't give us
people-
anything.
Our street department went to buy parts and couldn't buy parts because the creditors shut them off because the bills weren't getting paid.
Ruined the TAN note in the process.
They couldn't even go to a store
They
to
knew
buy parts.
they weren't getting the TAN note. I read the emails. They knew, Judith knew they weren't getting the TAN
They
note.
ruined it.
How did you read an email from Judith?
You'd be surprised. I have every access to that.
You have access to all that?
Damn right I do.
Tim?
And I'm legally allowed.
So, well,
Oh,
so
nice.
obviously individual, you all have individual city email accounts.
Mhm.
And those are your email accounts as city officials. Council members should generally have access to individual emails accounts for city council members.
Exactly.
Now keep in mind, those accounts and the emails that you provide on those accounts are public accounts that oftentimes could be subject to right to know requests. So, don't assume that anything in those accounts is necessarily private or wouldn't be publicly disclosed. But
City business
there
is
should
not
still be, some protection in place for council members for their email accounts being private email accounts. They do have an expectation that their emails are being considered private unless otherwise requested through the right to know process. So, just keep that in mind.
I do keep it in mind. I don't discuss anything or look at anything that's not city business.
But you can't go into our account either and look.
I can't go into your account.
You just said you went to Judith's account.
I just happened to see it when I was going through things.
Judy
She,
doesn't
you
have
know,
an
she did
active
print things
account.
out, right? She did leave them on her desk and stuff, and they're city
Of course she
records.
did.
So if I happen to read them, I haven't broken any rules or laws. I'm allowed to do that.
So if it's a printed email that's in a city file or in a city record or, on a desk, that is a public record. I mean, that is something that's accessible. It's not, getting into an email account and reading something.
I
in
can't get
an
into an email account. I have trouble opening up a damn computer.
Yeah.
I don't have access to your email or her emails or anybody else's email.
So my question again, Mayor, is just a detailed list, or are we going to have a detailed list?
We could provide a detailed list, but right now we're gonna approve the resolution, so we can approve the accounting procedures for this. Call the roll.
Councilman Rosakowski,
Yes.
Councilman Bowles,
Absolutely.
Councilwoman Thomas,
Yes.
Councilman Gregor,
Aye.
Mayor Sherrod.
Yes. I'd like to make a motion to approve the final reading of ordinance 1249, an ordinance of the city of Monessen, Westmoreland County, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, defining public nuisances for structures and properties, providing for the reporting and investigation of public nuisances, providing for summary abatement and abatement by prior notice of public nuisance, providing for statements of costs, administrative fees, and civil penalties for abatement of public abatement nuisances, enabling liens and establishing owner personal liability, providing procedures for notice and appeal of public nuisance actions and statements of cost, repealing all inconsistent ordinances, and providing for an effective date. Is there? This goes in tandem with the next ordinance, and again, this is, for example, if someone has a house that they left abandoned and it's falling in on itself, and the city has to demolish it, we will have the legal jurisdiction to garnish their wages and their assets, and obviously this is putting that procedure in place to handle that. There are far too many people in the city who think it's funny to let houses sit and rot when they live in nice houses either in the city or elsewhere, and the city has to foot the bill for these demolitions, and they're not held accountable. We put liens on the parcels that we demolished, but that's not doing anyone any good. It's just stopping it from future development because the current owner already doesn't care about the property. So this will go after them with their personal assets. And this is in tandem with, like I said, the next ordinance, which would allow us to opt into Act 90 of 2010.
So Tim, do we have, or do you, or the city have jurisdiction of someone that's out of the state?
So, and to clarify, this public nuisance ordinance, what this ordinance does is there's a newer section in the Third City Code that was just added when the Third City Code was recently reenacted in 2014 and went into effect in 2015. This tracks and adopts those required procedures. So if the city ever has to abate a nuisance, this just provides the procedures that the city follows. The next, if you don't mind, I'll defer your question to the next ordinance, which is actually the one that addresses out-of-state property owners and things like that.
Okay.
So this, like I said, this just provides the procedure about providing notice to property owners and what the city needs to do if it's going to go on and actually demolish or abate a nuisance structure or a nuisance on a particular property itself.
Call the roll.
Councilman Bowles,
Yes.
Councilwoman Thomas,
Yes.
Councilman Gregor, Councilman Rosakowski,
Yes.
Mayor Sherrod.
Yes. I'd like to make a motion to approve ordinance 1250, the final reading, an ordinance of the city of Monessen, Westmoreland County, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, adopting the provisions of the Neighborhood Blight, Reclamation, and Revitalization Act 90, providing for permit denial and asset attachment, and providing for an effective date. Is there a second?
Could you explain that a little more?
I need a second first.
I
I'll
second.
second.
I'll defer to Tim if you want to, because then you could
Yeah,
get his
absolutely.
question too.
So this ordinance is intended to actually implement Act 90, which is the Revitalization Act that was passed several years ago. And what Act 90 does is it specifically provides municipalities with certain powers to address blighted properties. So primarily it does two things. One, it enables people with delinquencies for city utility bills and taxes that they can be denied permits if they would come to the city for a permit. So if it's like a building permit, or if it's a zoning permit, or any type of business permit, occupancy permit, they can be denied that if they are delinquent on their taxes. So that's one thing that it does. The other thing that it does is it permits the procedure to actually go after the personal assets, like the mayor said earlier, habitual and repeat offenders who are not taking steps substantial steps to remediate their properties. To address the question, and it's a good question that was asked previously, was does the city have jurisdiction over out-of-state property owners? They don't have personal jurisdiction technically over out-of-state property owners that don't reside here within the city or within the state. They do have jurisdiction in the extent that that person owns property within the state, and therefore they can address property issues. But it becomes very difficult as a practical matter to actually pursue and address out-of-state property owners. Now in Act 90, there is language that permits extradition of out-of-state property owners, but I would not rely on that power, because that would be a very difficult, time-consuming process to try and extradite somebody out of state for a code enforcement issue. But generally, it does, provide the ability to try and go after out-of-state property owners. There is the ability to transfer judgments that are obtained here in the state to other states as well to pursue the assets of owners in other states. But that is a cumbersome process, particularly if it is somebody that's out of state. I don't know, hopefully, does that answer your question a little bit?
It does, but it really ends up boiling down to if an out-of-state owner owns a piece of property and it really falls in and it's a safety hazard, the city's going to take it down at the city's expense.
Unfortunately, most of the time, that's how it works. Unfortunately.
We could take that at the end. Any other questions on this motion? Call the roll.
Councilwoman Thomas?
Yes.
Councilman Grader? Aye. Councilman Orchakowski?
Yes.
Councilman Gold?
Yes.
Mayor Sherrod?
Yes. I'd like to make a motion to approve Ordinance 1251, the final reading from the ordinance of the City of Monessen, Westmoreland County, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, amending Chapter 172 of the codified ordinances of the City of Monessen pertaining to the Uniform Construction Code, establishing a building code and property maintenance board of appeals, establishing procedures for accepting, processing, and deliberating on such appeals, and providing for an effective date. Is there a second? There was no existing Board of Appeals in the city or guidance on having one or procedures for one, and we are required to have one through the International Property Maintenance Code and the UCC, so this is establishing a Board of Appeals for the city.
Are we just going to appoint?
Yeah, we will have to appoint, we can advertise if you'd like, I believe, 7 members, 6 members and 1 alternate with qualifications. Any questions? Call the roll.
Councilman Grader? Councilman Orchakowski?
Yes.
Councilman Gold?
Yes.
Councilwoman Thomas?
Yes.
Mayor Sherrod?
Yes. I'd like to make a motion to approve the Blight Plan proposal from Westmoreland County Planning, which will further build on the 2019 Blight Inventory Project, as well as the city's new comprehensive plan. Is there a second?
Second.
And to get into further detail about this, so in 2019, I believe, the County Planning Department worked with the city to do a blight inventory. So there's an interactive map that you could click on and look at properties that are blighted. It does need to be updated, but it exists. And then obviously, as we talked about at the beginning, the comprehensive plan was created and then adopted this January. So this is a leg off of that comp plan. The county reached out about developing a blight plan for the city. So they're proposing to begin that work in tandem with the comp plan that we have. So.
Is the proposal in there?
I thought it was. I could run upstairs and get it, but I thought it was in the packet. So if you all would recess for a minute. So no, I sent it to John, but I don't think he saw the packet. So if you recess for a minute, I will wrap it because I think it's really important.
Go back for as far as the city has access to.
have to submit this in writing?
You do have to take it there.
I'll need the paperwork.
And keep in mind too, so not all emails are publicly disclosed, so
Well, I just want the ones that are publicly disclosed.
we have to, some things like legal emails and whatnot, those will be not subject to disclosure, but, you know, it's a publicly accessible.
Who would make those decisions? Would you make that decision?
I, between the open records officer is primarily responsible for making those decisions in consultation with the solicitor.
I'll be seeing you in March. Just curious, what's in it? Thank you.
So, the total cost is on page 2, it's $6,200. And if you look at the last page, there's an optional service, with an additional cost of $1,300, so I will go through, the timeline. So they'll develop consensus and convene the Blight task force, and that would be the Blight board that we implemented at the beginning of this year that we needed to have. Then activities and deliverables, conduct facilitator-led exercises to develop consensus and vision, conduct inventory and assessment of existing blight fighting tools, processes, and procedures, determine where strategies and tactics should be deployed, including beautification areas, and prepare a recommended list of blight fighting tools, processes, and procedures. And then phase 2, to empower municipal officials and implement, they prepare a blight reduction strategy, prepare preliminary blight reduction strategy, prepare final blight reduction strategy for adoption by council. And in the optional service, they take the current blight inventory that I mentioned earlier from an ARC GIS story map platform to an interactive and public-facing, it's called an ARC GIS hub website that can include additional resources such as the completed blight plan and citizen blight reporter, etc. So that additional option, like let's say Mrs. Jones sees a gutter falling off an abandoned house, she can report that to that site, and I'm assuming by this that it would also like make it to the city and be reported directly to the city. So it's another way for residents to kind of have input on the kind of blight, the issues that they're seeing. I know that with a project like this, they've done this in Aliquippa. I think they did it in Johnstown recently too. There's probably several other places as well, but this is Westmoreland County's version through their Department of Planning and Development. I don't know, have you had any experience with anything like this in any of your other municipalities?
Yeah, there are several municipalities I work with that have had blight plans completed, and they are nice tools, because they typically go through and they evaluate the tools that you already have, and then maybe implementing already to see what you can do to strengthen those tools, and then come up with some other ideas to also address some blight issues of blighted properties. And then they also go through and specifically identify some strategic properties that are particularly blighted to focus on. They look at it from a much more evaluative, analytical approach as opposed to just generally, you guys know where blighted properties are in the city already, but they look at a much more, much higher planning level. So it is always very good.
And I'm sure too, it could open the door for additional funding, because I would assume, as has been in the past, if the county says, hey, you should do this, sometimes they also say, here's a grant for you to do this. So, and it certainly couldn't hurt to put all the tools in one place for it. So.
Well, Tim, how, and what part of this actually overlaps with McIntyre?
So what Mackin was doing in the comprehensive plan is specifically, they're creating a comprehensive plan that's required of the municipality's planning code. So they're going to focus on more kind of economic and recreational development, what you can do to actually develop portions of the city. Now, it touched on the blight issues, right? So there were some recommendations with respect to blight. This tends to be a much more narrowly focused, specifically on blight. And it comes up with very specific recommendations, typically, the ones I've seen that are done, are very specific recommendations on some initiatives and some ordinances and other projects that the city can undertake specifically to address blight. It's like I said, it's much more concentrated and it's much more narrowly focused than the comprehensive plan, which is more general and tries to accomplish a lot more things under that municipality's plan.
Okay. Call the roll.
Councilor Wojciechowski?
Is this, I have a question, is this new on our agenda?
What do you mean?
The first time we're seeing this?
Yes. All this stuff is new
Right.
on the agenda.
So just to clarify the question, so when we say new on the agenda, do you mean it was, so my question will be, was it on the agenda that was posted at 6 o'clock, by 6 o'clock yesterday?
No, my question is this the first time we're seeing
Okay,
this?
okay.
Yeah. All of this is, except for the second reading of the ordinances. You look like, Don, you look like you have a question.
We never talked about this.
No, and how can we vote on, I'm sorry, Dawn, go ahead, I apologize.
I don't think so.
I mean, I have a hard time passing something that I just seen an hour ago, 45 minutes ago. We didn't discuss it.
Well, I just explained what it was. We know we have a blight issue, so we need to take a proactive approach to address it.
Well,
So-
where did you are? I apologize.
No, I think maybe Dawn's getting the same thing. We need to discuss this like we are discussing it and table it maybe until next month.
We could discuss it even further. I would
I'm not
rather
sure
not
if we need
table
to
it.
table it, but we definitely need to discuss it. That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
Well, my concern is the cost. $6,200 and then the $1,300. You know, getting to be the end of the year, when it starts getting to be the end of the year, I start worrying about spending money. Is this going to impact our budget in a negative way? I mean, we're going to be concerned. Because I know $6,200 doesn't sound like a tremendous amount of money, but nonetheless, you know, we're talking $6,200 and $1,300. When does this have to be paid?
They did not give me a date. It just says that there's a fixed cost of $6,200. So.
I mean, my question honestly would be, tagging on what Dawn said, this wasn't a budgeted item.
A lot of things weren't budgeted items.
Oh.
But I feel like we need to proactively address blight, and this council has a tendency of dragging their feet on some things. So even if we approve it, I would assume they would not start the work until they're paid. So.
But the bigger question, and this would be part of our discussion, is you could join everybody in the world and then say, okay, we want the maps and do all that, that still does not change the blight. It doesn't,
No.
it doesn't change one building.
But it gives you an actual plan and it gives you an avenue to get funding, because a lot of funders will not give you funding unless you have an actual real plan on paper.
That's what we have the comprehensive plan.
It's not the same thing.
That's what we were told by the
It's not-
state.
It's not the same thing. This is a microscope onto the comp plan.
I don't think it's a bad idea. I think it's a really good idea. I'm just concerned with the cost myself. I mean,
Would you all like a sample plan from another municipality?
yes, do we have that like at the next meeting or?
Yeah, like I could ask the county planning department.
I would greatly appreciate that. I would like to
Because
table
I
it.
think it's really important to do something like this.
Oh, I
If the
agree with
comprehensive
that.
plan is broad, this will focus in on Blight specifically.
You know, man, no one has an issue with this plan, but it's an issue about being able to review it and see what it looks like. That's the only issue.
Well, I'll see
No one has
if,
any, basically, you come with great ideas, but nobody has issues with the ideas and suggestions you have. It's the matter in which you do it, that's it. It's not being included in it, that's the only problem we have.
so I would be happy to ask them, the planning department, to send a PDF maybe of other plans that they've done. I'm sure they've done other municipalities in Westmoreland County, so. But I would like to take action on this soon, so.
Well, if you get us the sample for the work session next month, we can vote on it at the regular meeting. I'd just like to know what I'm looking at. I mean, you're looking at $6,200, another's $1,300. At this time of the year, every penny counts. So I'd like to table it.
Okay,
until
we'll
we have
table
more
it and
information.
I will ask them for a sample.
Thank you.
Oh, Gil, are you okay with tabling? Okay. Item I, I'd like to make a motion to relocate the plaque honoring Anthony Madison from Pavilion 3 of City Park and relocating the plaque to the Riverlawn Pavilion at the request of the family. Is there a second?
I'll second it. Question, the one down at the launch does not have a name?
No.
It would be more appropriate than the little pavilion up at City Park.
And I think it would mean a lot to the family.
Well, the man gave his life service to his country. I think he deserves something really nice.
Any questions? Call the roll.
Councilman Bowles? Yes. Councilman Thomas?
Yes.
Councilman Gregor?
Aye.
Councilor Chakowski?
Yes.
Mayor Shortall?
Yes. I'd like to make a motion to accept the Facade grant program applications for the following downtown businesses: Evans Graphics, Steel Plate, East North Machine LLC, Chateau Lounge, Mon Valley iPhone Repair, Greater Monessen Historical Society, Donner Flats, and AJ Ceramics. The total cost from the grant fund awarded to the city for this project, for these particular applications, is $27,141. The applicants would be required to provide an equal match to the funds they received as per the grant guidelines, and the total remaining in that fund is $25,859, and so that would leave the opportunity for more eligible downtown businesses to apply for those remaining funds. And if I'd ask for a second, and then I could go into further detail.
I'll second.
So this is the grant that we received earlier this year. It's a $50,000 grant from the state to do a facade improvement program for downtown businesses from Perenni Boulevard to 12th Street on Donner Street Maker and all the side streets. Eligible businesses cannot owe any taxes or any kind of fees to the city, garbage, etc. And it has to be a project that improves the facade, and the facade can be any side of the building facing the public view. it cannot be over $5,000 for their match and our match. So it could be a $10,000 project, but it 50-50, 5,000, 5,000. So these are the applicants we've had so far, and as I said, there's still remaining funds. I don't believe we've received the check from DCED yet for these, but once I have these applicants done, I will follow up with them. And then this comes from the Keystone Communities program, so this funding for a facade program uses DCED's guidelines. So they dictate how the money is given out to the businesses and such. So, any questions?
I noticed that you have the, what do you have here? Have they all completed their applications?
What's that?
Applications.
What about the application?
Yeah, they have everything required?
Yes. Yeah. It also appears that we're missing a historical society application, so we could amend the motion to take that one off since I don't have it here. And we could, yeah, I'm sure it's here somewhere. Yeah, I'm sure it's here somewhere. And hopefully we get more businesses to apply. I don't want to give money back to the state, so if they're eligible.
Sent letters to all of them?
Yes.
I just make sure so they all agree on that.
Yeah, I sent them about a month or so ago, and extended the deadline for applications too. So hopefully, if you know some business owners that have not applied yet, please reach out to them. And do signage, power washing, painting, windows, all that sort of thing is all eligible. So, any questions?
How much has been spent total?
It's on here, so the total applicant, like the total request from the applicants from the grant side is $27,141. So that would be doubled because they have to match dollar for dollar. And then there's a total of $25,859 that would be left for other businesses to apply for. So
we got a little bit over 50,000.
yeah, yeah. So hopefully, I don't want to give the money back, so I'd rather give it out to the businesses, so we should get them to apply. Some of these buildings just need some power washing and a coat of paint, and this will help. I know for some businesses that I talked to, the match was difficult, because it is a dollar for dollar match, but hopefully this will help some people out. So, call the roll.
Councilor Orchowski?
Yes.
Councilor Bowles?
Yes.
Councilwoman Thomas?
Yes.
Councilor Gregor? Mayor Sherrod?
Yes. I'd like to make a motion to approve advertising in the local newspaper to auction off a 2010 Explorer that has been deployed for 5 years, or you mean down for 5 years? Is there a second?
I'll second.
Is that the one that's in the city garage junkyard? So basically for parks, I assume.
Mayor, question. Instead of it saying auction off, it should be sealed bids. Notice sealed bid. You don't auction it.
Sealed bid.
It would be sealed bids, yeah. There's a procedure in the certified city code where you can auction it off online, if you put an advertisement online and everything. I assume that's not what
No.
it's doing to accept sealed bids.
Sealed bid.
Sealed bid.
Yeah.
Not the lowest, but the highest.
Yeah. Any questions? Call the roll.
Councilor Bowles?
Yes.
Councilwoman Thomas?
Yes.
Councilor Gregor?
Aye.
Councilor Orchowski?
Yes.
Mayor Sherrod?
Yes. Item L, I'd like to make a motion to approve ratification to the closure of the city building, any effect on affected employees, and with Amazon Studios and Pippo Streaming Inc. sprung. Included is a copy of a $15,000 check to the city of Monessen for being an excellent partner in this profession. Is there a second?
I'll second.
The reason why it was done the way it was done, they needed an answer right away because at the time they were looking at this building when it was empty, and they had assumed assumed that we were not going to be moving into this building. So when they came to us, they saw that we were moving. They actually came on moving day and approached us about using this for filming, and we were like, we're moving here, not gonna work. And they asked if we could close for 2 days, and that they would compensate us for it, and they needed an answer. So that's why it was done the way it was done. You can see the copy of the check here. And in addition to them giving us $15,000 for the filming, they fed the employees for a week. They rebuffed the floors over there, and they re-landscaped the flower bed at no cost, and paid for all of the signage for the city hall that's not up yet, but they covered the cost of all of those things. So well over the $15,000 that they said that they were going to give us. So I know that it wasn't the ideal to do it in that manner, but they needed an answer. And I don't think any of the citizens that I've talked to were offended by getting a $15,000 check. So the approximate cost for employee wages for each day is about $800
Per day?
per day. Yeah. Not counting John and Cheryl. So about 1,000 probably.
If you look at the two well, okay. Treasury, the city only pays a third of their wages.
That's true too, yeah. I think that takes into account though.
Does that take that
I
into
think so.
account?
Cheryl will crunch those numbers.
So basically the move over here was paid for by the filming.
Yeah, so far, yeah. All that we had to do so far is get all of the IT, like the phone and everything wired, and then there have been some lights that ballast needed replaced, but other than that, and the plumbing, but we've made money on the building so far, thanks to the production. And this is the second film in a year, hopefully more, because it's really good for the local businesses. I know the businesses on 6th Street that were filmed were very happy because they were also compensated. A couple local churches for using parking, so it worked out for a lot of people. Call the roll.
Councilman Cole?
Yes.
Councilwoman Thomas?
Yes.
Councilman Gregor?
Aye.
Councilor Wojciechowski?
Yes.
You've got me.
Here's one.
Thank you. Item M, I'd like to make a motion to approve the request letter for recognition of a non-conforming use at 100 Knox Avenue. It's actually 101 Knox Avenue. Robert Lawrence is intending to open a convenience store at this location. In fact, attached you will find a list of previous store owners that occupied this location. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
So to further explain, Mr. Lawrence was able to acquire 101 Knox Avenue, and he approached us about putting in a convenience store, but the last known use of that building was Bomba's Heating and Cooling. I had the Historical Society dig back through the newspaper archives to see what the original use of the building is, and you will see newspaper ads, one from E.S. Jones Grocer in 1911, Scales Food Stores in 1939, and then James B. Riddle and Son in 1949. So the original use of the building was a grocery store. Since it was already used for that, we have the jurisdiction to just approve that use. Is that correct?
So, yeah, your zoning ordinance provides for recognition of non-conforming uses, which basically means that the use would not currently comply with your zoning ordinance, but it, in a sense, has grandfather status. So that's what specifically you're being asked to approve in this particular, to acknowledge the grandfather status use as a convenience store similar to a grocery or a convenience store in the past, which gives it grandfather status.
Any
Yeah, subject, 100 Knox Avenue. Then he says, I purchased the property at 101.
It should be 101. Yeah, 101 Knox is
So
correct.
that is a typo?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it should be 101.
The other letter has the 100 on this one. Don't change it to 101.
Yeah, it is 101 miles. So, and, I don't know, I was glad that the Historical Society was able to find those for us, so it saved a lot of work and a lot of digging. Any questions? Call the roll.
Councilwoman Thomas?
Yes.
Councilman Prater?
Aye.
Councilman Chakowski?
Yes.
Councilman Cole?
Yes.
Mayor Schwab?
Yes. I'd like to make a motion for forgiveness of taxes of $880.66 for the city of Monessen for tax map number 2002-020335 685 Reed Avenue. Real estate lien certificate dated 9/17/21 and attached is a copy of the deed and the development agreement. Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions?
So Mayor, what happens if the school district or the county, either or both, say no?
Then those taxes don't get forgiven.
Let's
We're
say
all
the person-
responsible for our taxes.
Let's say the person says, well, I don't want it then.
The deed would already be filed, so that would be up to each individual property owner. John, Cheryl, and I explained the risks to everyone once they agreed for properties. They know that the city votes on the city taxes.
Okay.
Question for you.
Fortunately,
How many,
we haven't had any turned down yet.
yeah, that's what I was gonna ask you. How many have we done so far this year,
I
approximately?
think we're on 14.
About 14, any been turned by the county or the school district?
I'll have about 13 more.
And there are
Have any been turned down by the county or the school district?
No.
And there are other properties that have been transferred because of interest in this program that have either, the owners did not ask for tax forgiveness or they're in the process of being filed, so that's between property owners, or there are people interested. But there are probably approximately 60 or so. There's some people that are interested in empty lots, some people interested in commercial, but nothing, until it comes to council for the development agreement, it's between the landowners to transfer the properties. There has been significant interest to the state, reached out to me, and they are interested in implementing this in other communities. So the state is paying attention to this program, so hopefully it continues.
We have 14 that were moved already,
With taxes.
Yeah.
taxes.
We've had quite a few of them that have gone through redevelopment authority. There's no taxes, so you don't have to worry about that. There's some that have bought between the owner, they gave them the property or transfer, and there are no taxes, so we're not involved with that. Okay? So,
And then there are also people that.
there's a lot of misunderstanding as to what's going on.
And there are also people that have come down to pay their taxes, and there's several properties that the owner said, I don't owe taxes on these, but they're vacant and I don't want it. So if anyone's interested in it, let them know. So, properties are still moving. There's a 21% increase in home values this year alone in Monessen. So something is happening, and it's really exciting. If you drive down Knox Avenue, between Del Rosas and First Street, you will see 4 properties in the process of being renovated. 2 of them are through our tax forgiveness program. I don't believe 101 Knox was in our program, was it?
No.
And then the other one, the former Pasteur building, was not through our program, but it's sparking more interest in people renovating their properties.
Just recently, Matt made a comment about there were 6 transfers made, and some of those we won't deal with. He was just aware of it, it's going from one person to another person. We're not involved.
And until they fill out the tax forgiveness request, that's when it comes to council. So that's why you have it's really nice to see properties being renovated again. And I'm sure everyone has seen normal homes are selling really fast. And I think it's going to increase. Councilman Gregory mentioned repeatedly, whenever PennDOT decides to finish 43.
Contracts have already been let.
Monessen will be approximately 30 minutes from Pittsburgh. when that connects to the south side.
Yeah, when they get that beltway done, it's gonna be 30 minutes, feel free.
And because of the Wall Street Journal article, we've had inquiries, nothing in the process, we've had inquiries from all over the country of people interested in the properties, interested in visiting Monessen. We've had people driving around looking at properties because there is a housing shortage, a national housing shortage, and we are full of vacant houses. So, and the state is looking at this as a potential way for communities to address blight. I heard that Braddock and Wilkinsburg are considering something like this too. I've said it multiple times before, we have not seen some of these taxes in 10 plus years, and there's a point where the houses are worth less than the amount of taxes on them. So it's not doing anyone any good, and now that we've adopted the ordinance where we can go after people for demolition costs, people will be more likely to say, I don't want that property anymore. And if they know that they could get money out of it, some property owners, when people are acquiring properties from private owners, whatever amount of money exchanges their hands is none of our business. They work that out on their own. If the new owner requests tax forgiveness, then that's when it comes through us. So some people, and actually probably most people, give $1 for a nominal amount. Most people are just like, I didn't know that I owned that anymore. There's a misconception that people think that if you don't pay your taxes and it goes for tax sale, upset sale, that you lose the property. If the property doesn't sell, it's still in the owner's name. And a lot of people don't realize that. And there have been a lot of people that have said, I didn't know I owned that, or I gave that to the county, or I gave that to the city. If you don't pay your taxes, it's still yours, unless someone buys it from under you. So there's a lot of misconception on that, and I think it's just people not knowing how that tax process works, because it is really confusing, and the county doesn't really explain it that much. So I've had to educate people along the way for it too. Call the roll.
Councilman Grigor?
Aye.
Councilman Chakowski?
Yes.
Councilman Coles?
Yes.
Councilwoman Thomas?
Yes.
Mayor Sherrill?
Yes. I'd like to make a motion to approve the forgiveness of taxes for $7,882.28 to the city of Monessen. Tax map number 20-0203-0301, 158 Schoonmaker Avenue. Real estate lien certificate dated 9/17/21. Attached is a copy of the deed and development agreement. Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions? Call the roll.
Councilman Chakowski?
Yes.
Councilman Coles?
Yes.
Councilwoman Thomas?
Yes.
Councilman Grigor?
Aye.
Mayor Sherrill?
Yes. I'd like to make a motion for forgiveness of taxes of the city taxes of $3,674.39 to the city of Monessen. Tax map number 20-0202-0240, 483 McKee Avenue, real estate lien certificate dated 9/17/21, and attached is a copy of the deed and the development agreement. Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions? Call the roll.
Councilman Coles?
Yes.
Councilwoman Thomas?
Yes.
Councilman Grigor?
Aye.
Councilman Chakowski?
Yes.
Mayor Sherrill?
Yes. And I'd like to make a motion to approve this forgiveness of city taxes of $5,228.73 to the city of Monessen. Tax map number 20-0208-0159, property 207 Runaway Avenue, real estate tax lien certificate dated 9/28/21, and attached is a copy of the deed and the development agreement. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any questions? Call the roll.
Councilwoman Thomas?
Yes.
Councilman Grigor?
Aye.
Councilman Chakowski?
Yes.
Councilman Coles?
Yeah.
Mayor Sherrill?
Yes. I'd like to make a motion to approve a request for a handicap parking space at 424 McKee Avenue, police approved. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any questions? Call the roll.
Councilman Grigor?
Aye.
Councilman Chakowski?
Yes.
Councilman Coles?
Yes.
Councilwoman Thomas?
Yes.
Mayor Sherrod?
Yes. I'd like to make a motion to approve the hiring of 2 certified eligible applicants as part-time employees for the police department at the recommendation of the chief, and that is Mark Shemansky and David Dorskevich. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any questions? Call the roll.
Councilman Wozzachowski?
Yes.
Councilman Coles?
Yes.
Councilwoman Thomas?
Yes.
Councilman Gregory?
Aye.
Mayor Sherrod?
Yes. There's no police report for the month ending September 2021. Councilwoman Thomas?
Good evening, everyone. The street support report for September 2021. Emptied the garbage cans downtown twice a week, answered around 40 PA1 calls, put up signs throughout the city, cold patched several streets, cut the city lots, took meter heads off, moved City Hall, put up the boat launch playground sign, and took care of complaints and helped the Parks Department as needed. The library board report. The main things to note is the library hosted the Mon Valley Art Club annual exhibition on September 26th. The artwork was at the library for public viewing for 2 weeks. The annual audit of the library is available for review if anybody wants to review it. The Friends of the Library will be having their annual fall luncheon tomorrow, October 12th from 12 to 2 p.m., and that is at St. Spirit, I'm pretty sure.
There's still tickets for that too.
And then there was nothing to report at the redevelopment authority report, and it was adjourned. There's the discussion regarding the stop sign at the intersection of Donner Avenue, PA 906 South and 5th Street. As John knows, he contacted Brian Walker, I think is his last name, at PennDOT, and he came back with 5 solutions to hopefully remediate the traffic issue on that corner. It's very dangerous, and actually Gerald came up to us several times. Came up with 5 things, and 2 of them were, basically 3 of them are PennDOT's now, because it came back to Mr. Harhide that the city had not painted the stop signs on the marking grounds. So basically they wanted to say PennDOT needs to oversize the stop signs at the intersection, and for the city to remove the 4 parking stalls on the left side of the road approaching the intersection. I think that needs to be discussed with the business owners too, to let them know that if that happens,
Are you talking about the
the
veteran
parking
sign?
stall,
The
yeah, on
parking
the left, the parking stall on
Oh.
the left. That actually, I think, needs to be addressed with this, let
There are
them know.
only 4 there.
Right, so that means they would have to park on the side street or across the street in Dollar General parking lot. So that's something they need to be aware of, because it was brought to us by one of the business owners. So they need to know that that would eliminate parking on that side of the street in front of Torn Page and in front of something for everything. So that, no parking on that. Plus you don't have parking now because the medical building is there also. So that takes away a lot of
Parking
parking.
on the right either.
Why did we lose the red light?
I don't know, I wasn't here when that was.
I mean, shouldn't the city been involved in that discussion before
That was
PennDOT
PennDOT,
decided
you know,
to?
I don't
No,
know.
I think the city had something to do with that. And I'm not sure, but when I would talk to the one inspector that was down there, I asked him about that light. And apparently they were approached by city council at the time to pull the light out, according to him. I'm not sure why anyone would do that. But,
It's a city road, couldn't you request the big stop signs with the lights
A
around
blinking one,
it?
that's one of the
Yeah.
things that we mentioned to them. So they're, all they mentioned here was oversizing the stop sign. So then they already removed the veteran memorial plaque was already
Yeah,
removed.
took that down.
Yes, that was another suggestion.
Right, and the other, well,
And the other one was to add a stop sign ahead, like down further before you get to the intersection, to have stop sign ahead so you know there's a stop sign coming. And then the last one was redo the stop paint marking at the intersection to match PennDOT publication 111 standards. And they were saying that that would be the city's responsibility, but Rodney came back and said they were never required to paint that. They
No.
only did the curbs. They never
PennDOT.
did
done
that.
by PennDOT's
PennDOT
contract.
painted the
Right,
parking
right, and they're
stalls.
thinking that we did it and we didn't.
That-
But those were the 5
PennDOT's contract.
recommendations from PennDOT. I think that's up for further discussion from us, meeting with the business owner, let them know that they were thinking about removing those 4 if they're in agreement to that.
because I'm sure Jerry will have a few words about that.
Right, so, we can only do one or the other. You want us to help you with the speeding, but then you don't want us to remove those parking spots.
so.
I think most of it's just eyesight and take the obstacles out of the way.
Right.
And it was true that that veteran sign, back about 10 car lengths, is exactly on the stop sign. But as you move to 4 or 5 car lengths, then the stop sign appeared. So we took it down the next day and relocated that. And yeah, the 111 standards that they had, we had no idea, so I know we didn't do that. We only paint yellow curbs. That's all we did in downtown. And the reason why they're absorbing a lot of this is because it's Route 906. And they've got to do that, take care of that.
So that's the end of my report.
Councilman Rosenthal.
Thank you, Mayor. Park Department report for September 2021. They cut the city parks and ball fields, cleaned the city hall as needed, got the pavilions ready for events, put up lights in the police station, helped remove City Hall, and helped the street department as needed. Thank you, Mayor.
Councilman Bergen.
Code enforcement financial report ending September 2021. Plumbing license year-to-date, $1,415. Building permits, September, $75 year-to-date, $11,390.32. Demolition permits, $150 for September, year-to-date, $836.50. Soliciting permits year-to-date, $200. Chicken permits year-to-date, $175. Street opening permits, September, $1,200. Year-to-date, $76,789.99. Magistrate code enforcement for September was $241.96. Year-to-date was $1,709.89. Sign permits, September, $100. Year-to-date, $1,289.50. Eat and drink license, $300 year-to-date. Health inspection, $780 year-to-date. Habitation permits, September, $865. Year-to-date, $12,695. Landlord fees, year-to-date, $20,180. Yard waste pickup, September was $125. Year-to-date was $800. Totals for September was $2,756.96. Year-to-date was $128,561.20. Mon Valley Emergency Medical Services report for September 2021. Emergency calls 155, fire standbys 2, total incidents 157 calls. Fire Department report for September 2021. Automatic alarm 2, assist police 1, CO calls 1, standby 1, structure fire 1, 2 flooding, 2 wires down, 1 tree down, 1 motor vehicle entrapment, 4 motor vehicle accidents, landing zone 4, illegal burns 2, fire fuel spill 1, structure fire in Charleroi 1, fuel spill on Interstate 71, total calls 25, total responding was 290, average responding per call 11.60, total man hours 291 hours. I have not been able to attend the last couple of the Mon Valley Sewage Authority meetings, so I don't have a report on those.
Councilman Cole.
Yes. Following is my report. I'm asking for a motion on item 8 to approve payment of invoices from the general fund in the amount of $331,398.57.
Second. Questions? Call the roll.
Councilman Orchakowski?
Yes.
Councilman Cole?
Yes.
Councilman Thomas?
Yes.
Councilman Grigor?
Aye.
Mayor Sherrod?
Yes.
On item B, I'm asking for a motion to approve payment of invoices for line usage in the amount of $79,558.31.
Second. Question? Call the roll.
Councilman Coles?
Yes.
Councilwoman Thomas?
Yes.
Councilman Gregor?
Aye.
Councilman Orchakowski?
Yes.
Mayor Sherrod?
Yes.
Item C, I'm asking for a motion to approve payment of invoices and park fund in the amount of $11,546.50.
Second. Questions?
Mayor, what's the 4450?
That's for doing this building, because they had to move the locks and the cameras and everything over from the other building.
Call it up.
Councilwoman Thomas?
Yes.
Councilman Gregor?
Aye.
Councilman Orchakowski?
Yes.
Mayor Sherrod?
Yes. Did you miss some? I thought you missed some.
Did you miss one?
I think you,
Councilman Cole.
yeah, did you miss the
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Item E, I'm asking for motion, no, I'm sorry. Item D, I'm asking for a motion to approve payment of invoices for recreation in amount of $363.96.
Second. Questions? Call the roll.
Councilman Gregor?
Aye.
Councilman Orchakowski?
Yes.
Councilman Coles?
Yes.
Councilwoman Thomas?
Yes.
Mayor Sherrod?
Yes.
Okay, item E is a report on the large dollar account balances for the month ending September. Number one, debt service, $489,560.68. Item two, in the general fund, $263,935.49. Item three, American Rescue, $173,450.69. Number four, item four, Parks and Recreations, $88,892.18. Item number five, line uses, $35,781.55. That concludes my report.
Thank you. I'd like to open the floor to general public comment on any item.
Hello everyone, my name is Beverly. I recently acquired a property on Knox Avenue that I intend to renovate in the course of the next few years. And I have been watching a lot of the meetings from home. This is my first in-person meeting at City Hall. And I was really disturbed by what happened during the last meeting. Almost instantaneously, it seemed as if it was some sort of staged event where a lot of people started speaking about public safety, but not necessarily public safety, but public safety in the sense that they were large throngs of young children in gangs, and I heard of calls to evict people. I heard one man sitting closest to the camera saying, just shoot them, in regards to the thought of a young person possibly accosting someone in a vehicle. Just shoot them. And knowing that there is this large problem with homelessness in the city, I don't know if people are aware of this, but I think it was pretty evident that it was staged, whatever happened. I mean, I've seen a lot of these meetings enough to know that no one just starts talking about this outrageous call to arms over people running the streets. And I don't think that it takes a lot of people to see that this was a call for something against Mayor Sherrod. And it seemed as if it was targeting Mayor Sherrod and his administration for allegedly not doing enough to handle these young children on the street. And it seemed as if it was racially charged. And I do hope that if this was staged in regards to the upcoming mayoral election, which I know is very heated, if you walk outside this building, you can see the billboards to know that. I do hope that no one is trying to amp up their base to attack people, especially since there are reports of young children squatting in homes. I know that I'm probably going to have to face a squatter in my home at some point. This is going to be a multi-year renovation. I just know that I would respond with tact and grace and care, and I would certainly not try to attack someone in my house, especially knowing that they were possibly a child. I just hope that more people in the city know better, because Julian, it really resonated with me when you said this kind of city. Because I think I know what you were referring to, and I think it's the people who would not think twice before shooting someone. And I hope that no one is trying to stoke the flames and cause unnecessary violence during a pandemic, during a time of financial upheaval for a lot of people, and during a time where we're about to be approaching winter, and there will be more people sleeping in homes, more people who are most likely homeless children in the city. And it would be very disgusting and irresponsible for any political candidate to potentially ignite these sort of flames underneath a voting base that maybe does not know what's going on, or quite frankly doesn't care, quite frankly, people who may be prejudiced, such as the people who did report against those two mothers who came in. So I really hope that what you said at the beginning of the meeting does resonate with a lot of people, that this is an issue of homelessness, and that even if it isn't homelessness, there are a lot of issues that need to be resolved before people just start thinking they can go shooting. So that's all.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to talk to some of the kids too.
Yes.
I don't know all of them, I know a couple of them.
Yes.
And hopefully I can get to know them and try to figure out, like, Julian, I talked about it last month, and several other residents talked about it last month. Like, they're people, and they're doing stupid things. Like, there are issues up there, like even the mothers that were here said there are issues up there, but we have to try to talk to them too.
Yes.
You can't police people to that level and police them to the point where you want them removed from their house because you don't like the way they're living.
Exactly.
And I think that Lois also hit the nail on the head with, like, there's some both, I hate to both sides of the thing, but it's true. It's being stretched, and then once I stop talking, and it's escalating, and I do think that there are some people that live up there that it is racially charged, but I also think that it's just an inconvenience for neighbors too, that they don't want the kids on the streets. And I've driven up there, and they've been on the street, and when I drove past, they moved. I don't think they know who I am, like, oh, it's the mayor, I have to move. Like, I don't think that's the case, but I sat there and they moved. And I'm glad that it's gotten better since school started, and we do need to address it, but we also aren't, like, we don't have the legal jurisdiction to throw people out of their houses.
Exactly.
There are, I'm sure, circumstances, but this is not one of them. So I'm hoping that talking to the kids and trying to figure out, like, what do you want? You know, why don't you feel connected to the community? What do you want from us? How can we engage you? 9th Street Park is right down the road from here. Hopefully making park improvements will help, but I feel like it's going to take way more than that to engage them, because unfortunately you need to catch kids when they're in elementary school and middle school, not when they're in high school and when they're young adults. And we miss the boat with a lot of them, and it's all, like, it's collective. And I know a lot of people say, well, they have parents. Some of them don't. Some of, their parents are never home for whatever reason, whether it's work or other issues. Single parents. It's the community's responsibility, and if you are going to complain about helping them with recreation or helping them by fixing parks or providing things for them to do, and you don't want to pay for that, in 10 or 15 years, you're probably going to pay for law enforcement to handle them, and that's not the better of the situation.
It scares me to think that there's such a large segment of the population that thinks that evicting these people and uprooting them from their homes is possibly an answer and an acceptable alternative, especially in a city that has faced so much redlining in the past. I don't want to see that repeated.
Well, hopefully
I don't think that's fair to say that there's a large segment of the population. I've been born and raised in Monessen. And that's wrong to say the majority are large segment. And also, I know the people in Monessen, and people in Monessen are not going to just jump up and shoot people. People care about one another in Monessen. We love one another in Monessen. There may be a few. You got to be careful by saying that, because that's not the majority.
Do I need to be more careful than the man who said just shoot them?
Right, but I'm just saying, that's one man. That's one
I don't.
man, okay? But
But he
the way
probably
you're
speaks for a lot
saying
of
it, it made it
people,
sound
and
like
we
a
don't
lot
know
of
that.
people want wanna go out and shoot people, and that's not
How do
correct.
we know that? How do we know that's not the
Because we
case?
live in Monessen, we were born and raised, am I right or wrong, Trina?
I know people
Yes,
here.
that's
and
right.
I feel both sides
Right.
as a youth advocate, which is what was gonna be one of my questions, because as a youth advocate with a nonprofit, I have questions for you now, with the forgiveness program. How would someone, do we go to the school board and the county meeting for their end of forgiveness? So that, like, how would someone that's looking to get one of the properties, or if I wanted to get one for our nonprofit, so that there wouldn't be, because I know some of these, the city, you guys have a large stake in it, but then the school and the county taxes sometimes are just as high or higher. So how could someone, say my company, my nonprofit, wants to get one of these houses so we could have a homeless, safe place drop in? So how would someone, after we get the city forgiveness, how would we go about the county and the school forgiveness, so we could do something? Because, like, I have a nonprofit, so I kind of can get around some of those, or cooperate to the city and the council to help.
So in a normal circumstance, like, so the city forgives the taxes, then John writes a letter and says, city council has forgiven, blah, 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 blah. And then he sends that off to the county and school district and asks them to do the same. So the property owners don't go, but in your instance, like, if that's what you want to do, I don't think it would hurt to go to a school board meeting and say, this is what I want to do with this is why it's important. And same with the county, I don't think it would hurt. It's different if someone's just getting it and they want to renovate it and live in it or flip it or whatever, but like, this is, like, what you want to do is a different circumstance.
Right.
And I think that the county should know if they're not aware already of the issue. Because there isn't, like, there's help in Washington County with the city mission and other
Right.
entities in Allegheny, but there's not much in Westmoreland.
And I would think you would have more leeway, because you're a nonprofit.
Yeah.
You would probably get more clearance in that area than maybe just an individual who would go out and ask for tax forgiveness, because you are a
Which is
nonprofit.
why I wanted to be here this
Right, 'cause
evening,
you are a
because of I saw the agenda items, and so I wanted to be here to ask, because this is something, I see one of my friends from Redevelopment Authority here who knows how many of the meetings, outside of you, Miss Lois, but, you know, other people that see me at these meetings, and so I know some of you, and some of you see me in the street with the kids, but we are here because of that issue, and I personally, because our family grew up here, I graduated from here, I do take a vested interest in our city and not seeing these kids. And if I can provide the service in the city and in the Allegheny County, and that's not my home, this is my home. And I feel like we should have these programs, or at least help to set them up and administrate them before we continue to help people that literally have a handout from every angle. So I'd appreciate any assistance and guidance, because I want to work with Julian and the Youth Advisory Council so that we can get this problem addressed and hopefully provide some warm, safe spaces over this winter to get these kids off the street.
It's so important.
And Ms. Beverly, I understand your concern about whoever said that, but that person should be addressed.
Absolutely,
And
it should be.
not put that on everybody, because that's not the.
I'm not putting it on everyone.
Right,
All I'm
because
saying,
that
Ms.
should be
Thomas.
addressed with that person.
All I'm saying, Ms. Thomas, is that one person actually had the gall to say it out loud.
Right, I don't know.
We don't know how many people were thinking that or feeling that deep down. And also, I do know that, yes, I am a newer stakeholder in the city of Monessen, but my family has been based in the Mid-Mon Valley since 1907, so I'm not a newcomer. I don't know, not entirely at least. I get that you are from here and you have
Yeah,
strong
and I just
investments
know
here. but-
I've been here all my life, and I've been involved with school systems, churches, youth groups, all around, so I know the people, and I know the heart of the people. So you can't look at the majority for the few that mess up, just like in any situation. So you address that issue with whoever those people were, but,
Yes.
Say something briefly. Just between this, what everyone said, one of the biggest things is that a lot of people forget that kids, like you say, kids are humans too. and they want treated with respect just as much as we want them to give us as adults respect. If we're not listening, if they feel like we're not listening to what they have to say and they feel like we don't care, what makes them care about what we say? So the fact that you're willing to go talk to them, that is an excellent start. At the last meeting, it was very crowded and about 5 different people stood up on how the kids were a problem and how everything was going on, but I clearly offered for people to let's make a plan and let's try to find something for these kids to do, not receive 1 call. So if those people who are complaining don't want to be part of the solution, stop complaining. Because it's not just your children. Yes, you might have a daughter, a son, but it's not just your children, it's other people's children too. And if you live in a neighborhood where you're all neighbors with each other, it's all of your responsibility to do what's right for all of the kids. The city has been excellent getting the Civic Center up and running. I've spent days in there trying to get it cleaned and ready, and we're going to start programming in there. There's things that they can actually do, but everyone who complained last time about how these kids were such a problem made no step forward to be part of the solution. And I just think you willing to talk to them is definitely great. If you would like me to go along with you, I will go too. I know a lot of these kids. I'm working in the school now. Like, I know a lot of them. But they want to be respected. And if you go, and the kids are so smart. Like, they notice a lot of things. If you go up to a kid and you don't speak to them and you just give them like a side eye or some type of evil look or something, what do you think they're going to do? They're going to disrespect you because they don't feel respected. So I think, being a part of the community now, everyone has to understand that these kids are people. They might be 10, 12, 18, but they are people, and they're smart. They understand what's going on, and they understand when not being treated as equal human, yes, they're minors, but not being treated as equal human beings. They understand that, especially because they have access to all this social media now. They know what not being treated fairly is, and a lot of people, there are some really good people who will treat kids like that, but there are so much more who will not, and that's a big part of the problem. So let me know whenever you are willing to do that. Thank you for that. Everyone who has contacted me, because there has been some people who contact me and would like to do things with the kids. Thank you for that also, but it still needs more. Because 10 people can't do it all, but I would love to do that with you.
I don't know if it's going to work.
And it might not, but you know what, Matt? At least you're trying.
Yeah. Julie,
Some people aren't even trying.
can I make a suggestion possibly, something that might work, you might want to consider? Since there are problems on that street, why not have something on the Civic Center where they have like an actual meet and greet, or South 14th Street, a family affair, whatever, where everybody comes, have hot dogs and stuff, music, where they all can actually talk and just hang out as neighbors. Since there's that dissension between the two, why don't you have something down there for that community at the Civic Center? And invite everybody who lives in that neighborhood to come. And it's a start. If they come and they maybe can come and just fellowship together and see each other as together having fun. Just an idea I'm throwing out.
It's definitely a start, and it would be
Yeah, I
something.
mean, it's a start.
But it's not just me. Also,
Not just me. It might be
everyone
something,
can.
right,
Everyone
but
can be a
it's
part
something
of
to
that
start
too.
for that.
I think that's part, like, they're not, like, they don't want to talk.
So
and,
this may be a
both sides of the neighbors don't feel safe
So
from
why
the
not?
other
That's
side.
a neutral side. That's a neutral place.
The people you have talking should be people who live in that area.
Right.
Because at the last
Well, that's
meeting,
what I mean.
I saw 2 people that came to complain. They don't even live there. One lives on Pennsylvania.
So that's what I'm saying. If you send a letter to the people who actually live in that neighborhood, hey, we're planning a get together for your neighborhood. And just have hot dogs and chips and music and just let them mill around and get to know each other.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely love to do that, but like I said,
You know,
anyone.
If it's on a date that I could be there, because I work.
Yeah, I was gonna say anyone can be a part of that. It's not just. It's not just me, and any community member, we all have a responsibility by, no matter what position we hold in the community, we have a responsibility to all the citizens, not just the adults, not just the elderly, not even just the kids, but in 5 to 10 years, or even 15 to 20 years, these kids that we're putting off now are gonna be where we're at, and we're gonna be gone. And what are they gonna know? So these kids that we're writing off now are gonna hold all of these offices within 15 to 20 years. So why not try now? So I'm happy to do anything. I am, but the 10 to 15 people we have out of however many citizens are in Monessen is not enough.
Roughly 6,800.
6,800, and we have 10 to 15 people who care. What does that tell you? But then you have people coming and complaining that aren't doing anything. So I always say, my door is always open. I'm always willing to meet with people to talk about new things and try to do things not even for just the kids, for all the community members. But if no one's willing to try, then,
What kind of help do you need from the community? And what would you, if I were to come in tomorrow, what would you need?
I don't know, just like, if you have an idea of something we could do. Like, you don't have people who actually want to do anything. So you want to sit down and have a meeting and let's plan an event, let's do it. We have several events coming up that kids could be a part of and stuff. And, just not enough people are willing to try. But that's why I said thank you for volunteering. Even though it might not work, you might have one kid out of 10 who says, I want to talk to you, but you're willing to try.
Or they're gonna be skeptical and like, why
willing to
does
try.
you want to talk to me?
Yeah, so, and that's why I said, if I could go with you, I definitely will. But yeah, that's all I had to say. It needs, the city itself, even us on this side, as guests, have a responsibility to some point for every single person in the community. And I think we need to remember when talking to these kids that they're human, they are very, very smart, and if you don't respect them, don't expect to get anything. Don't expect for them to even talk to you. I had someone who told me a police officer was talking to them, they treated them very well, and they felt like that was the first time that's ever happened to them. This kid was 12. There was someone in Foodland who I witnessed an elderly person getting very nasty with this kid, maybe 15, 16, going in to get a drink. And I said something to him, and he said, "Oh, I don't care. He's I'm not going to repeat it, but some very bad things." And the kid was standing right there, and I said, just get your drink. Don't even worry about it, because these people who are disrespecting these kids, like I said about 5 minutes ago, these kids are going to be in the positions we're at. If we show them now that we don't care, kids are impressionable. So if we show them we don't care, what are they going to do? They're going to act like they don't care. So, we really need to, no matter what the politics are, no matter, what happens, we need to do better as a community, because we're all in this role to serve the community of Monessen. So, that's it.
Anyone else? I move to adjourn at 9:24 p.m.
Okay.
Councilman Cole.
Thank you, Mayor. The following is my report, starting with item A. I'm asking for a motion to approve the payment of invoices for the general fund in the amount of $217,957.51.
Second. Any questions?
Yes, Mayor. AM Trust North America for $6,500.
Was that on page 1?
Yes, sir.
AM Trust North America.
The trust, that's, workforce compensation.
Okay. I take it they got two series of the law firm for the.
Correct.
Okay. And our rescue systems for 64,000?
Owl Rescue System. Is that the SCBA, the first batch?
Yes, yes, that's
Oh,
the,
yeah.
The air tanks.
that's
for
the
fire department.
CV money, COVID money that we used for the systems.
Call the roll.
Councilman Gregor,
Aye.
Councilman Orchakowski,
Yes.
Councilman Coles,
Aye.
Councilwoman Thomas,
Yes.
Mayor Sherrod.
Yes.
Item B, I'm asking for a motion to approve the payment of invoices for line sewage in the amount of $83,228.14.
Second. Questions? Call the roll.
Councilman Orchakowski,
Yes.
Councilman Coles,
Yes.
Councilwoman Thomas,
Yes.
Councilman Gregor,
Aye.
Mayor Sherrod.
Yes.
Item C, I'm asking for a motion to approve payment of invoices for liquid fuels in the amount of $12,897.26.
Second. Questions? Call the roll.
Councilman Coles,
Yes.
Councilwoman Thomas,
Yes.
Councilman Gregor,
Aye.
Councilman Orchakowski,
Yes.
Mayor Sherrod.
Yes.
Item D, I'm asking for a motion to approve payment of invoices for the park fund in the amount of $5,717.32.
Second. Questions? Call the roll.
Councilman Coles,
Yes.
Councilman Thomas,
Yes.
Councilman Gregor,
Aye.
Councilman Orchakowski,
Yes.
Mayor Sherrod.
Yes.
Item E, I'm asking for a motion to approve payment of invoices for recreation in the amount of $1,504.35.
Second. Questions? Call the roll.
Councilwoman Thomas,
Yes.
Councilman Gregor,
Aye.
Councilman Orchakowski,
Yes.
Councilman Coles,
Yes.
Mayor Sherrod.
Yes.
Item F, the large dollar account balances for the month of ending August is, number one, debt service is $476,083.38. Item two, American Rescue is $314,472.54. Item three in the line usage is $97,614.02. Parks and Recreation, $95,790.50. And General Fund, $72,721.47. That completes my report, yeah.
Thank you.
Mayor, I have a question on that, please. Question is, the 314,472 that we have left in American Rescue, is that the amount that we had originally got?
What was the,
No, we originally got $378,000.
So what did we spend money out of there that we didn't talk about?
No, we did talk about it, and it was the $64,000 amount of money that we spent on the, what's the prior equipment?
SCBA.
SCBA.
But that can't be used for that.
Which is under the COVID. Yes.
No, Tim?
So there's so you've gotten two batches of COVID money right now.
Yes.
So you've gotten the CDBG, CVBG, CV
Right.
COVID money. And then you've also gotten the ARP money as well.
And back to rescue.
The fire apparatuses that you purchased, those, what were they? again?
SCBA? The tanks.
Self-contained breathing
Tanks.
apparatus.
Is the CDBG CV money being used for that purchase?
No, we're using the rescue money for it.
Okay, so there's a different, if we're gonna use the rescue money for that, where's the different process that we'll have to use to approve that?
Yeah.
Because we need to have that, there's a resolution, we need to confirm that it's an eligible expense under that. The new regulations for those funds are coming out, the final regulations, as it says. Yeah, are coming out in October, and so that will delineate exactly what you can and can't use them for. but there is a specific resolution that will be required that you need to pass in order to use those funds, so we will want to make
So
sure.
you'll let us know what that is?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll prepare that resolution for you guys. In addition to that, there's some revenue replacement money you guys will most likely want to approve as well, and we can incorporate that into that same resolution as well.
So if that's the case though, Tim, doesn't that money have to go back until then?
I mean, it should not, it shouldn't be spent from that source
Right.
until it's approved.
So this figure,
Using that resolution.
you can't
If they
take
didn't
that
have
out.
that in the regular information that came out. It wasn't specifically said, it didn't say that.
It wasn't from, it
No.
didn't specifically identify that as being the source of the funds.
Right, the resolution, everything, we had to give an answer back to them now, that if we didn't have the information, that a resolution had to be given for that.
Are you talking about like the Treasury or like?
Yeah, well, the rules will keep changing. I mean, they have changed, what, 3 or 4 times now?
Yeah.
So,
So we can't be taking money out of the American Rescue that isn't allocated for that specific purpose. I just want to make sure.
No, it is ours. We got $750-some thousand.
But we'll have to pass a
Half year,
resolution to
next year, and
spend it.
half this year. So the rules keep changing, and we have this money in our account, and it is able to be used for COVID, for the fire department, and that's what we used it for.
That would, based on my understanding of the rules, so fire apparatus equipment for a fire company, first responders, generally is applicable.
Okay.
Like I said, we have to wait until the final regulations come out to know that, which once again, they're anticipated to come out next month. But we wouldn't want to actually spend those funds until we have the resolution in hand, like we're required to do for record-keeping purposes. In addition, if you spend it before September 30th, which would be the case now, it will have to go on your October report. There's a yearly report that has to be submitted to the DCD and the Treasury Department. It'll have to go on that report as being spent in the very first year, so keep that in mind. But we'll absolutely want to make sure we have a resolution before funds are dispersed, authorizing that disbursement and identifying specific category under those regulations, the rule.
So I just want to make sure this is clear, that funds weren't distributed yet for something that could or could not change, that we don't know yet. And then they come back and say, that doesn't work, sorry. And then we gotta fork out and pay it out of something else.
I don't think so.
But you're not the federal government. And they're giving us this, and like Dawn said, they keep changing and it's crazy, but that's the guidelines you have to deal with.
We'll make sure we do.
Did you say we have another pocket of money that can be used?
I mean,
That
there's
was
the
the
CDBG.
COVID,
Right, do we still have that?
CDBG, CV. No, that's what we just voted on that today.
So we use that
was last
for
year.
another purpose?
No,
$170,000.
that was ordinance, or resolution 26, item I.
Or is that what you use for,
Yeah, I think that was the rest of that breathing apparatus, the CDBG, CV.
you said I?
Yeah, towards the top of the page. Resolution 26. That CDBG-CV, that's the COVID CDBG money.
And Mayor, I have 2 other questions after you're done with those.
Go ahead, I'm just gonna get the resolution, go ahead.
Oh, she done?
Go ahead, I'm
She's-
just looking at the
okay.
resolution, go ahead, you can go ahead, I'm going out.
My last question is the general fund, down to $72,000. I mean, it hasn't been down there in a long time. My question is, are we using, what are we using for this that should be moved or allocated from somewhere else?
I believe John paid off the 2019 debt.
I don't know, we never,
We're gonna have to make that resolution he's talking about, using some of that money to reimburse us for the American Rescue.
There is revenue replacement.
There's revenue replacement. We're gonna have to move that money.
So,
We have to go through the resolution process.
yeah, I would anticipate probably at the meeting for next month, you guys will want to approve using part of your art money when I calculated it, it was about 140,000 to 147. I want to confirm those final figures, but it's about 147,000 that you can approve as revenue replacement. That assuming that nothing changes in the final regulations that come out next month, you would be able to put those into the general fund and use those for the provision of ongoing, just general city services. So you could use those for basically general fund expenses with certain exceptions. Can't go for pension contributions, and there's a few other small exceptions as well. But I would anticipate that you would want to do that probably at the next month's meeting in order to provide some, working funds to continue operating within your general fund.
Okay. And the last question is, are we keeping a running total tab, if may be, of what is happening over at the other building?
Cheryl has that.
And what is that right now?
No total yet.
So you haven't spent the money over there?
The only thing we have is the PA1 call, PA Connect.
I've
We
been
got
told,
the bid for that.
I've been told the plumbing has all been changed and everything else. Is that true?
He's in the process of doing that. I do not have a cost for that.
Whoa, wait a minute. Someone's in the process of doing something.
What is it, what you say?
I said, my question was, are we keeping a running total of what the total cost will be to move over to the other building? And you said, if I remember, John, you said Cheryl's taking care of that.
Yeah, right now, we have $7,000 of PA Connect to rewire, and Comcast will be in. That's not going to cost us anything, because the service is the same.
The phones are free.
Right. We have 4 toilets and
Hot water tank.
a hot water tank. And so we're right now about $1,000 in materials, and we have to get the labor hours. Okay.
Okay.
Anything else? We addressed item 13 already. So, as I open the floor to general public comment, please try to keep it brief since it's almost 10 p.m.
I have a question about the parade. Why aren't we having the parade the same day as the Halloween? That's how most cities do it. You have your parade, and then the kids go directly from the parade trick-or-treating.
Ricky when Ricky made the request, he wanted to keep it as was in the past. It was always the Thursday before. So, because there are other communities that have other parades, so that way other people can participate in the parade, since we have less people here.
You have to kind of schedule your parade so you don't interfere with another community's parade.
Yeah, because then we won't have any other parade.
We'll have our trucks.
Yeah, I just, for sake of, parents having to take their children out 2 weeks in a row.
Hey, they go out 2 days, we throw candy to them.
Yeah.
Okay? They get 2 days.
Just asking. That's how we always did it at other places.
Yes, my name is Norman Madison. I live at 22 Court Avenue, Monessen. I'd like to know, who runs that city park?
What runs what?
What?
Runs the meter.
I can't hear you.
I'm sorry, what do you mean by who runs it?
Well, who decides whose name or whatever goes on that bill, on that pavilion?
I imagine council does.
Well, listen, my son died in '84. They put a memorial last year, one of the pavilion. Actually, it was memorialized twice, one from the veterans and one from Westmoreland 14th Courthouse. And they put my son's name on this pavilion at City Park. Now, this pavilion is terrible. I would rather see my son's name put in an alley someplace where nobody can see it than have his name put on that damn pavilion that's up there. First off, the bricks are all falling down off of it. The roof is all rusted. They got 2 tables that I wouldn't even build a fire with. Okay? And it seems like whoever manages that place up there needs to go up there and look at some of them places that's being used up there. and then you're gonna charge somebody to use one of those pavilions. Is that ridiculous? Probably. Why can't somebody do something about it? I mean, you got workers up there, the place looks terrible.
Which
And then-
pavilion is that?
It's Pavilion 3.
Pardon me?
Pavilion 3.
Then you got all these guys that you set memorials up for, okay, put their name up for a memorial. And they're really nice. And you got my sons up there in that junky pavilion. I want it taken down or put it someplace else.
Who put it up? Is that Ron Promenade?
Yeah, I think so.
That who put it up?
Yeah, but he don't run that park.
We'll have to-
When was it put up? Just recently?
It was
Years
recent.
ago?
Last year.
We approved the
Last
request
year,
for all.
put up, the memorial was put up.
Yeah,
And
it was-
this year,
It was supposed to go up about 3 or 4 years ago, and they never did.
yeah,
We put it
this
up
year,
last
they put another one up from the 14th quartermaster in Green Street. All right, and that pavilion looks terrible. I mean, you wouldn't want your child up there with his name on a building like that. I don't care who in Monessen goes up there and look at that. They ought to be ashamed to look at it. And it's terrible. And there ain't no reason for it. There's no reason for it. You know, when my son died in '84, he was supposed to be at the park right there by the back that they had at one time. Used to have a little park sitting there.
No, across the street.
Yeah, witness set right here by Melon Bank.
I remember that.
And I got it on tape. They said they were gonna name that after my son. There was a little set place there.
And they just, when they tore that building down, they never.
Yeah, so they were gonna put his name there, then they changed that, and went someplace else, and they changed that. Okay, and I mean, this is ridiculous. I'd rather for you not use my son's name on something that looks like that.
Question, could the crew
And I consider
who,
my son as a
could the
hero.
crew
He
who
died. He
helped do
didn't-
the
he
boat
didn't
launch, basically get a crew together to help
Okay.
maybe?
We could
And I go
try.
up there and look at that.
We
garbage,
really need
and
to
I
spruce
feel
up all
sick in
3
my
of them.
stomach.
Yeah, I'm just saying, there's a crew that did the boat launch and the caboose. Why couldn't we see if we can get that same crew and some additional people to maybe go up and paint it and do some things to make it look better? You know, I understand what he's saying. If you're gonna memorialize someone, you want it to be a nice location when someone goes to
I
look.
agree.
If it's the one I'm thinking about, I don't think it's ever been touched since I was a little kid.
It's the
Okay, I don't even know which
small,
one.
it's the small metal one, it's Pavilion 3. Closer to the tank, the one closest to the tank.
Oh,
The little
out of
metal
the
one.
park.
Yeah.
At the city park.
You know, all the rest of them are nice. You know, I mean, hey, even ones that haven't been in a war is nice. And they keep them up. You know, that plaque down there at the end of town, where the veterans got that, they don't even put a flag on his daggone memorial. They put flags all around it. Everybody else there got flags, but he don't. Why?
Call me tomorrow.
I know that messes me
Call
up.
me at the cemetery, we'll fix that. We'll
Are
fix
you
that.
talking down about the Sunoco station?
Yeah, and the bad part about it, my plaque, I own it, okay? It was given to me, and I gave it to the city. They said they were gonna put it up down there. I told well and good. Before, I was putting flags down there, because there were flags everywhere else, there wasn't none by his. I mean, hey,
Call me tomorrow. I'll find you a flag.
and you wonder why I get hostile about this town.
No, I don't wonder. I understand completely, unfortunately.
Anyone else? Motion to adjourn at 10:02.
Thank you for listening.